conference will now
So
be recorded.
yeah, thanks. Maybe quickly, maybe start with Anish. Maybe how many years you are with the technology SAP, and do you have any experience in GTS? So if you can give that kind of a little bit of info, then we can kickstart from there. Then I will start with the demo.
Sure, Kumar. Am I audible?
Yeah,
Sure. So myself, Anish, and I have close to 14 years experience in total, like majority of which is in compliance. And
yeah.
I've been a trade compliance professional for last 4 years.
Hmm.
Okay, where regarding my personal like work domain is based on like the HTS classification for reports, but I don't have an experience specifically on SAP. So SAP is something which is very new to me,
Understood.
but I have an understanding and things about like how things work in terms of export and import and
Yeah,
compliance things.
yeah, clear. Thanks. Can we go to next one? Maybe less.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Nice to meet you guys. Um, I have the same as Anesh just said. Like, I never worked on SAP actually. This is something
Hmm.
really new to me, and my best friend actually is working on the SAP GTS, and he earned like a lot of money with that. And he's doing this from like 8 years right now, I think. Actually, I'm a project manager.
Hmm.
I work into several projects like IT projects. So I'm a little bit familiar with IT, but not especially with SAP. So I wanted to become like a consultant on SAP GTS actually. That's my goal.
Yeah, clear. Kishore?
So yeah.
Hi all, good evening. Yeah, I'm Kishore. I have total 13 years experience in SAP sales and distribution. I'm looking for a new module where I can explore more into new challenging roles. That's where I started for this GTS.
Perfect. Thanks, Kishore. Dipti?
Myself, Deepti. I'm having almost 10 years of experience in SAP GTS. I worked on compliance and customs modules. So I'm just looking for E4H. Like I did not get the opportunity to work on the E4H. So I would like to get exposure on E4H module.
Perfect. Rakesh?
Yeah.
Thanks, Dipti.
Hey, hi. Actually, I have completed my master's in the US, but I have to learn a new technology like SAP GTS so that I have started joining this class.
Perfect. Ahmad?
Yeah, hi. I am into SAP GRC security, but I want to change my work stream, so I joined GTS actually.
Perfect. I think either, I mean, team here either has compliance experience or they have some kind of a SAP experience. So it's kind of a mix. Let's see how we can able to achieve both the different types of experiences here, and it's a good to share and a quick demo today. But let's see how we can plan our real-time training based on the availability and the timings. Okay, so this is at high level glance of what we are offering with reference to Export as a training company. Basically, we try to cover GTS, all three modules, including compliance, customs, and trade preference. So, as I hear that, why I asked the experiences before we start this session is that it will give me what kind of a topics or what kind of a details I need to discuss at certain point in time. So that's the one reason which I asked. Okay, so maybe if you are not completely familiar with SAP, it may be little difficulty at the initial phase of the training, but I think I hope I will able to make sure that I try to cover some points with very much basics, and as also experienced SAP consultants also here, so I don't want to bore them. So I will try to balancing out both, not go in very much basics or not talking at very high level at one go. So I will try to balancing both and try to cover the whole training period. So coming back to the module, the training topics, what we are planning to cover with this on the basics on the GTS. What is GTS? Why do you need to use? What kind of a real-time situations with the customer, where the customers are really being using this, what kind of a customers in the market, and how we can able to use the GTS as a system, and how this can be integrated with other subsystems or other any other subsystems. We also try to touch base very basic, very basic on MMSD finance. Very basic, as I mentioned. We don't want to talk more on that, but I think we try to talk how it is integrated with SAP GTS. So the more training content will come with reference to GTS, but we as GTS system is a slave system. I mean, people call that because GTS system work for feeder system. It does not hold any kind of own data itself. For example, I have created a one order which is exporting to some other country. I need to, as a GTS system, I need to verify whether the transaction should be allowed to process further, or that customers or someone is not legally allowed as per the compliance legal requirements. For example, that particular customer is sanctioned by the world trade, so we should not do a business. That particular product which you are doing a sale, it required an additional license. If license is not existing in my system will block it. So that automatically system will take care of all the activity automatically as soon as you create your sales order in, for example, S4 HANA system or ECC system. So this is how we will rely on the feeder system data. So we will touch base of basics of them. Then we will jump on the main concepts of three major GTS topics. One is a compliance. Compliance is basically what company need to definitely follow. There is no exception to that. For example, you should not do a business with a party of sanctioned by the World Trade. Okay, and there is no exception. Company has to follow, either they use GTS or some other third party system or some manually they need to validate before they process any further activity, wherein SAP is offering GTS as a service to make sure business does not fall under a certain kind of a legal risks. Okay, because if I will give you a real-time example, some of the companies recently, very much recently, they did a transaction to some country which World Trade is denied. US custom CBP charge almost 6,000 US dollar for one single transaction, and they also posted on the radio saying that this company did this kind of business. Because of that, they lost huge reputation. They lost their share values also. So it may impact that sometime, even if companies also has to close also. So that's very much key while companies are doing business internationally or even domestically also. But this is one of the domestic, there is a less chances, but when you're doing internationally, the possibility has very huge because of market is too much volatile, and it like huge online now because of the way things are going very much speed because of coming everything online. So the risks also getting increased. So we need to very much careful while we are doing a business with any customers. So how the SAP does these kind of checks by using the concept called sanctions party list screening, or some people call denied party list screening. Okay, this is one of the concept we talk about more on these, how we can able to restrict, what kind of activity need to be performed, how the system will really recognize that. Then coming back to embargo, basically what does it mean? For example, first one what I talked, I mainly focused on my customer or my, if I do a purchase, my supplier. Okay, if I'm doing some financial transaction, my payer or my bank, or if I'm doing a logistics transaction, my freight forwarder, carrier. So some any of the partner is part of that embargo, that sanction list is will drop. It is specific to the company, wherein if I should not do a business between one company to another country, or one country to another region of within the country. So in such cases, SAP offer a solution called embargo screening. Okay, so in such case system, when you are trying to create a sales order from US to, for example, Syria. Okay, this is one of the world trade. There's a 5 to 6 countries at least WCO is asked them to block. You should not do any transaction to Syria. So as soon as create a sales order, it will not even go for the customer. It will look for the customer country and block it. Okay, that approach will be handled through embargo. Then we will go to the legal control, as we talked about. When we are selling any product or purchasing a product, some cases, some countries, based on the product what you are purchasing, you may need to have additional licenses or additional controls to be followed. So that module will be handled through legal control, both for export and import purposes. We talk about how the system can be set up, how the ECCNs to be handled. There's no more ICCNs, no more, now we are not calling ICCNs, or we can with same ECCNs only, we use both import and export processes. How the license management works, overall how the standard reporting on the all the compliance module what we talked about so far, SPL, embargo, legal control. This is at high level glance of complaints. I think one or two audience here already working on the complaints. Okay, so they may be touched one or other area, but we're gonna talk about all these areas in detail, how it will be integrated. Not just a topic, also we are gonna see like how system will be able to what kind of challenges you will come in play while you are working with any customer, when you are even trying to start your project, what kind of questions you need to be asked, how you need to be will evaluate your customer. Maybe if the customer is not at GTS, how they will be able to tell you all this, and what kind of a questions you need to ask. These kind of information also will try to add up to the training content while we are discussing on each topic. And coming back to the second module, I mean, majorly the fourth module from the training curriculum, but it is the second topic in the GTS as a module, which is customs module. Customs module, what we basically does, this is like while you are doing any export or import, sometime we need to communicate to our customs authorities, like I'm doing this particular product to export to so and so country. Unless until I get a permission, I will not be able to talk about it. So that kind of a module will be handled through the customs management. For the customs management, we need to have a classification. What does it mean in a high level? So for example, I'm selling ABCD product with my material number is M1234. If I gave this information to my customs authority, what they know? They can't recognize, because that is what I understand as a company. But this may not be recognized by the World Trade or any other country authorities, right? So what, for this to achieve, World Trade came up an idea called, okay, let's go with the harmonized tariff codes. That code will be given to the all the customers. Based on that code is significantly tells what kind of a product you are actually selling to or purchasing from. Okay, so what you need to do, you need to create a you need to map your product with these harmonized tariff codes. Okay, based on a country, based on a situation, we call differently, and that structure is also little different. However, whole world should follow first 6 digit of all WCO codes we call. First 6 digit has to be same, and remaining characters can be changed based on their system. For example, if you talk about US, they use schedule B codes. If you look at Europe, they may use TARI codes. Okay, or if you are using sorry, Germany, if you are using Germany, they may use 11-digit tariff codes. And if you are checking for other European countries, they may use 10-digit code. And if you look at some countries like Mexico, they will use 13-digit, and some countries will use 6 digits itself. So based on the country norms and all, the numbers may vary, but first 6 digits is common. So based on that, you should be able to classify your product. We call classification. What does it mean? You are mapping your product with the world trade given number, which is we call tariff number. So both assignment will be has to happen with that process we call a classification. As soon as you classify, if you try to use this product, this customs authority will look at, okay, what kind of a classification you are defining in your product in your export declaration document. Then based on that, they will check, okay, whether it should be approved or decline or ask for additional clarifications and all. They doesn't even care about what is your product number. And most likely they will also sometime look at the description what you are adding, but not product description. SAP also, GTS also sometimes required a special description we call commercial commercial purposes. Okay, like customs purposes, we also can create some additional text. Maybe customs authority will look at these two, not any other details on your material data. So this process also we talk about in the first topic within the customs management. Then we are gonna go with an import process. Like what does it mean? While you are importing a goods from other country to, for example, we go use a two examples, one between China and sorry, Germany and US. Okay, and why I'm only using these two combinations specifically mentioning here, because the system is set up only between these two countries. Okay, so we can importing a goods to Germany from US as a player, and we'll try to demonstrate what are the steps need to be followed, what kind of a configuration you need to make it, what kind of a data is needed, and all the details. And then we'll go to the export declaration. So when you're exporting a goods to the customer outside your country, then we need to create export declaration document. Okay, and what is the preceding data for this? If I want to do import declaration document, if I want to declaration export declaration, what should be the course of information I need to receive from my FIDA system? So at what point I should trigger, and what is the limitation? What is the theoretical information I should be able to understand before I proceed further? And when I'm talking about these three modules, I need to talk about incomplete procedures. I need to talk about default data, and lot many other, how you can able to generate printouts, how you generate your activity sequences, and all those configuration has to be demonstrated, will be demonstrated, and will explain you. But you need to, I mean, we only go with one country as an exporter and another country as an importer. This is only system what we have gonna configure. But if you're really interested, because I think based on the your agreement, you will get some period of time with the system, you can practice it, and you can ask questions, but we may not able to complete your other country configuration because it will take its own time. Okay, but these two countries are predominantly will try to address, and if you have any questions, we always try to handle it. So then coming back to the third module, nowadays we are not calling risk management. We are now directly calling as a preference management. The reason behind is earlier in case of the GTS as a older system, we used to have preference module has risk management as preference module, and the some other modules too. But now other modules are completely wiped off. No customer are using. SAP is completely removed those from the topic itself. Now the entire module is converted as a preference management. We try to show you how the preference determination should work, how the rules of origin should work, how the LTS request issue template should be generated. We try to demonstrate high level, and we also try to integrate in between risk management and customs management. We're gonna talk about these integrations also. Then at the last, we try to high level, we try to give overview on the intrastat reporting, because we this is most likely nowadays most of the customer are implementing in S4 side, not in the GTS side. So that's why we don't want to focus too much content, but I think we are gonna give you high level overview, what is intrastat, what can be done, and how it can be done in GTS, why they are doing only in S4. Those all aspect we're gonna talk about it, and we try to show you, I mean, that system setup is not in place, but I think we are going to talk about at a high level how the interest reporting should work. Okay, so this is all about the topics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show you one example how system can integrate. Okay, and we'll try to demonstrate and maybe give you high level overview how system works. Okay, so Naveen, I think the system is still not unlocked in S4 side. Can you help me? So the landscape, what it was defined here is like so if you are already new to GTS as a module, so you need to understand how it, or if you are new to completely to SAP, how it works. Okay, so let's talk some of the modules which being used in SAP as a whole. So you will hear OTC or SD, okay, and MM are now people are calling very differently. They call this separated it out, are material management in generally, but now it is like ST, SEM, SCP, S2P, and all those terminology. So let me go in a high level. Okay, finance. Okay, WM, REWM, and TM, and lot many HR and all other modules are there. So these all modules will be available in the same S4 HANA system. Okay, earlier some of the modules may be separately, like EWM used to be in a separate system. But nowadays, EWM also EWM also embedded within S4 HANA system. Even with the TM also used to be separate system, but now SAP embedded TM also as part of S4 itself. But wherein GTS is not on the same as HANA system, it is always separate system. But Kumar, does it? Why do we need to? Why SAP is doing this? Why can't they integrated or kind of a do within the SAP HANA? The main reason is SAP GTS can not only connect to one S4 HANA system. It can be integrated with other ECC system or other MDG system or other non SAP systems also. So if I want to connect all these, there is no point of embedding this module within the SAP S/4HANA. This is one. The second thing is if I this required its own performance implications. So SAP decided to stay this GTS module as separately. However, if anybody asks whatever global trade operations basics without GTS as a box, can I able to achieve? Yes, SAP is also offering a concept called international trade. Okay, with this international trade as a concept, we can also achieve certain compliance requirements. Some people call SPL, but in international trade we call watch list screening. Okay, and embargo and legal control. So these three modules along with intrastat, as I mentioned already, and product classification also part of it. So these are the certain areas is already available in international trade. And when you're purchasing S4 HANA, you also achieve this. But the only the reason is the limitation what SAP is giving on these are very high. That means that you can very basic of these compliance screening can happen by using international trade. But if you really want to use a trade as a full-time stoppage, I mean full-time control to your system, then we always recommend to go to GTS. Okay. So far, this is all about. I mean, I will give a minute for to hear any questions so far before I jump to quick demo. Any questions?
Uh, how can we make the screen like big actually?
What do you mean? In your
Yeah, I want to make it as a full screen. It's showing me like small one actually.
I think you should have. I'm not sure, but I think I can. I think maybe toggle full. Maybe try with the three dots and maybe you can see any such options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regarding the course, what will be the tenure for this GTS course?
Okay, so coming back to the period, right? Because we are planning to go with as a weekend batch. Okay, so we are planning
Okay.
with Saturday 3 hours and the Sunday 3 hours or 2 hours. I mean, it is too much heavy. Then we are go with two hours. So minimum to minimum, we required 45 to 50 hours of time. Okay, overall. So we want to handle this 45 to 50 hours of time in stipulated weekends, and we'll also try to give, I mean, overall it's a 3 months course, but in the 3 months we are not going to run through. Maybe there may be unexpected holidays by me, or if no much people required in a holiday over the weekend, we also consider that. So what we will try to do, whatever weekends we can use within the month 4. Okay, in an example 4 and 4 into 16, and like that we will try to cover within 40 hours of training. Okay, overall to complete all the training model. But within 40 we will try to talk on 30 hours. I will try to give it training, but 10 hours is like you want to discuss some areas which were covered and you want to revisit. Okay, so 30 hours is what we are gonna give, and 10 hours work kind of a revisit any particular topic you have doubts. Okay, but however, I think there will be app will be provided to you. You can post your question as soon, I mean, based on availability, as soon as I can try to respond. And we can, even if next day, if you have one or two questions, quick questions, we may not talk all the questions daily, but if one or two questions which feel maybe relevant for all, I'll try to also address in the next day classes call also, 1 hour, 10 to 15 minutes of time. So remaining period we'll try to address. But this is the overall tenure. It will go on a 3 months from the date when we start, because it may have unexpected holidays in between.
It will be in
Okay,
evening.
what time for the class? Usual
So I
timings.
think that has not been concluded yet, but I think we are planning something like Indian IST somewhere around 7 to 9, okay, or 6 to 9, okay, or 7 to 10. Okay, this is a
Okay, 6 to 9.
stipulated period. Yeah,
Fine.
6 to 9 maybe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, morning 6 to 9 and 3 months duration will be there.
IST PM. I
And
mean, if you look at IST, it is
yeah,
evening.
ISP.
Mhm.
Okay, you're talking about evening. What about
Yeah.
morning?
We will see. I mean, based on the the available, because if I go with, I mean, I see few people also join from the abroad, so we want to make sure that everybody get a chance to be part of this batch.
Yeah, for you.
So that's why,
Okay.
Naveen, I'm still not able to access this. Can you help me quickly?
Also, can we get the access to practice the system?
Yeah, yeah. I
How
think you
we
will get.
can do that?
I think that our team will be able to help you to give you that kind of a info background. Okay, Naveen, our
Okay.
experts of team will come back to you on the availability of the system, and any challenges with the system, you can directly reach out to them. So I think Naveen will give that briefing maybe later point in time, but you will get the system availability and the same what we
Okay.
also discuss here. Okay, I think I'm
Or
not
will you
getting.
be, yeah, last question, will you be providing the training on GTS 11.0 or E4H?
It
Because I
is
see the
E4.
cockpit.
The reason is here, I it's like that, I mean, this is E4H. However, I
Okay.
always, this is my, maybe I would say the bad habit of me, but I will also try to use both. Okay, it will take some time if I am trying to navigate because still now I didn't get access, so I didn't set up that. But it is
Okay.
E4H. I maybe I had habit of using years by years on the GI, so even
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the work, I mean, it's kind of little ease, okay? But if you are new, I think maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe I will try to use both systems, and I will also talk about how the what is the benefit of using, like what are the differences. Those all things we'll talk. Like for example, right? If you are
Yeah.
SAP, it is easy for you. Like we call, they are GI apps. Okay, there's a two types of app. There are three actually, but we talk about two types. One is GI apps. What does it mean? Whatever it used to be in SAP, exactly they replicated into the app. They didn't make any changes to it. But some of the apps they created brand newly. Okay, that means that you will not find exactly the same T code in S4. I mean in GI side, and you will not have maybe what they did. They combined it some 60 to 70 transaction. They absoluted them and they created one or two Fury apps. For example, if you look at this manage block app, okay, and this particular Fury app is created brand newly, and there is some 6 to 7 apps created in the preference, 6 to 7 apps in the customs area, 6 to 7 apps in the compliance area. So overall, as of now, which is a 2023 4H versions, we have 21 UI5 apps. That means that there is around, as per SAP, there's around 90 plus transactions they absoluted. They created these 21 Fury apps. Okay, and
Yeah.
in the first time, if you use any Fury, I mean, any system, any customer, if first time when you open any Fury app, it will take some time. But once you start accessing these apps, it'll be the use will be I mean, the speed will be increased, and you will be able to easily accessible. Okay, and this app, whatever you see, right? I mean, SAP is also giving more on the user interaction point of view. Like you can simply select how many documents were blocked for your particular legal regulation, and how many blocks at sales order level, or how many at delivery, how many purchase orders, and all. You can single glance, and you can also look at if you just want your numbers, and you can also you can simply validate your document and try to revalidate all of them. So earlier, in order to perform all this activity, I have to be use multiple transactions. But some T codes are like exactly copy. If I want to see, right, you can see like it will be like F4719, and you see the framework will say UI5. Okay, but if you go to some other Fairy apps, okay, and if I okay, let me go back and so if you look at this one, yeah, this one also, okay, yeah. See, if you look at this one, it is still says GUI app. Okay, so that means that even I can access the same activity through GUI or Fury. So predominantly, just you need to, I mean, I will try to adapt more on the Fury, but I will also try to access more on GI. So if whichever client you are using, you can able to access both. So time to time, I will switch here and there. So you should be able to get both the flavors, how you can able to access GI and how you can able to access Fury.
Yes,
But
Kumar. So you'll be demonstrating the differences also, right? Like what are the
yep,
additions which are
yep,
for
yep,
E4H and which are obsolete, etc.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes, I
because
do.
I'm looking more on E4H. Yeah, that is the reason I'm
Yeah.
asking you.
Sure, sure. I mean,
Thank you.
so as it is more nowadays, any, I mean, unless until you're still working on any existing implemented project, I would definitely think that you need E4H. So we more focus on E4H, okay, on the functions and
Yeah.
challenges, but we're not gonna really talk about more on S4 HANA side of it, or certain things. Okay, so I will try to cover more for its flavors, but some are the like when while I'm talking, I may not really say that okay, I'm now going to talk about E4H today. I'm not going to talk about GA, but it's like within the flow of my training, it the deviations are flavors will be discussed. Okay, so
Okay.
let me.
And you
I
will be
mean.
providing the recordings as well, right? Like whatever the training you have provided, that session
mm,
recording also you will be providing to us, right?
Export soft team should be able to confirm that, but I think that is not
Okay.
with my control. But I think yes, if I remember correctly, yes,
Yeah,
they
because
do
if we
share.
miss any session or
Yes,
if we want
yes.
to revisit the session,
Yes,
so
sure.
we would
I
like
mean,
to
I think
get
that
it.
will be definitely handled, okay, for sure, as per my
Okay.
knowledge. But if not, I think
Mm-hmm.
we can talk with the export soft team. Most likely, they will be, unless until we call them, they will not be available here. But if I message them, I mean, you can message them also once, so they will be able to come back for any certain questions, and they will be able to address. But as for me, yeah, they will be able to provide all the details on all the recordings, and they will also provide you an app which can be able to access, may not be directly to me, but you can post your question. Everybody can also look at your question and my answer. Okay. So
Yeah.
what I'm doing is quickly, because it's a demo, so we want to show you how system works at a very high level, and I try to also show you what existing data available in the system, what we did for the previous batches. Okay, so I have just created one existing sales order which is in block state. What does it mean? I think this is a for the people who is new to SAP, are new to no other areas, right? When I'm doing a export or when I'm doing a sale, I want to sell my product. I need to create a sales order. Okay. The transaction which I've been used here is VA01. Okay. This is part of a sales. We will try to cover it basic transaction. VA01 to create, VA02 to change, VA03 to display. Okay. And I have provided who is my customer. Okay. And what is my reference to this, and what is my product number. Okay, what is my quantity. As soon as I did all those, I'm not going to talk about all these things, but the system will propose by when I can able to generate this document, I can able to see by, okay, the system is proposing for seven as a 12th month seven with 100 quantity. Even the system did not confirm anything. I mean, even we are requesting for 712, but system is proposing only zero quantity because it is a copied data. Let me try to request for new data. Let's look for 16. Okay. Okay, let's, I mean, this does not really stop us, but let me do. So I don't want to recreate all the data, so I'm just using one of the existing created sales order, so I can simply copy for testing purpose. But theoretically, people does not do quite often. Okay, they try to create by using some data which they know day in day out. Okay. Okay, so I have created a sales order. As soon I create the sales order, system try to propose based on the configuration. What is my plant? Okay, this is a plant from US. My sale is happening from US, and my this is my ship to party as a shipping point, and where I'm going. Okay, I'm going to the customer country also in the US. Okay, this is a US to US domestic sale. Okay, even it's a domestic sale, the system is blocked. Okay, let me try to see some. Okay, I will try to save this, and as soon as I create my sales order, the system will. Okay, there is some credit issue, that is still fine. Okay, my sales document got created, and let me look at the sales document in GTS. Okay, as I mentioned, I can able to just provide the information which I'm looking for. Okay, okay. So the document is not blocked. Okay, so there is a legal regulation restriction. The document is not blocked. That's why you didn't see any pop-up on the screen. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this document. I just want to display this document. It may not be blocked, but I just want to see how the sales document gets created in GTS. Okay. Okay, this is, if you look at, this is my, the document number got generated for the 6386. Okay, and year of 2026 and reference number, and this is my company code. FTA is integrated in GTS call. We call foreign trade organization. And I will gonna talk about all this while we are talking about the initial phases of system. But company code is integrated with the foreign trade organization in GTS. Okay, and what is this screening status? As it is a compliance screening process, we are trying, the system is checked. Okay, do I have any SPL screening? No. Do I have any embargo issues? No. Do I have any legal control? System did not check any control. Maybe based on the configuration what the system defined, because maybe this is a domestic transaction. Customer decided not require any legal control check. So system did not perform. Even that is fine. Okay. So unless until you see any issue with the document, which will be SAP also using that color codes. If it's a green means it's always kind of a no issue, but if it's a red means the system has some issue. Okay, and now let me go back and pick something which is blocked, so I can try to create and show you how it works. Let me quickly recheck, because these document may be created but later system settings might be perform little different, so even I will need to be make sure that I have a right data. Um, so what I'm currently doing is I try to recheck all my document which are in block status for YSPR as a legal regulation. Don't worry, what is a legal regulation? Is a legal regulation is kind of one set of rule, okay? And compliance, if you remember, I talked about three different sets of rule. One is SPL, one is legal embargo, one is legal control. So within these three modules, again, based on the business model, we will create each service. Okay, this we call service, and each service will have a sub rules, right? For example, first rule set is like sanctions partial screening. Okay, If you remember, right, earlier when I'm trying to access this app, it took huge amount of time. But now the way the system is coming up is very quick in nature. Okay, so I think I will try to come back. Let me see if this will okay. I will have a check. Okay, I think this also got cleared because I think I haven't used the system quite some weeks, so some documents were getting cleared. Okay. Okay, so what happened? Okay, so we created a sales order, okay, in the S4 HANA side, okay, and this sales order created under certain company code. Based on the company code and FTO system got generated with for this warranted organization, and we can also see from which system this particular document is arrived, what is the document type, what is the encode type, and here I can able to see what is the product master that's being used for the sales awareness for some side, how much quantity and what is the value of the goods and what is the date. Okay, if you look at this particular example created somewhere in the last year. Okay, and if you look at the partners, okay, these are the partners, the sold to party, ship to party. This is a GTS SPL block ones. Okay, they made some changes to it, and then the status of it. Okay, what is the current status of this document, and we can also see when it is created and all. And I can also able to see few other points which is at item level, like how you have a sales order at item and PO also have item. Legal unit is nothing but your plant. Okay, and we will create always, I mean, based on your customer, some people will call LU or some people will call LEZ. That will be a prefix to easy to recognize this is LU, and LU SAM, GSAM is my plant code in S4HANA side, and GLU is my legal unit. This is a product, all those details, any particular partners in the line item level. And if you remember, I was talking about HS tariff codes and ECCN codes. This particular product has ER99 as a ECCN number. And if you look at this particular transaction is happening between US to India. Okay, and this is the current situation. And we can also look at why this particular document is in a blocked state or a red state. So I can able to see the SAP saying there is a two legal regulation services that are active, and the country DE. Okay, I know the reason. The country DE is not maintained in the embargoed list, and system is proposing as a block. And if I go to the sanctions party list screening, this also, I mean, because as it is a system, multiple people are creating their own legal regulation, but technically we will not have more than one or two in case of SPL. And the SPL legal regulation, what it does, system try to check 290. I have two partner, if you remember my example, and 290 and 351, and system try to find the address of my 290 as a partner, and system will compare with the blocked list which is we have procured from our data provider. Okay, we provide that data provider wherein the data provider will give list of all the blocked sanctions party addresses, and system will try to compare with this address with the sanction party address and try to see if any match, system will put a block. For example, if you look at 351, partner address has been identified as an entry in the boycott list or sanctions party list. Hence, system will set a block on SPL. Okay, and if you look at legal control, and the system could not able to find anything, hence system is not really looking for legal control. I'm going to talk about all these details once we have started testing, but at a high level, the system will try to perform the all the validation of your compliance as soon as you create the document. Okay, and I will try to show you. I mean, this is GTS. Okay, so but think that your sales rep is trying to create your sales order, and how do he know that there is a block in your sales order? If in case it is an emergency order, how can he really reach to reach to certain people, or something, some kind of a okay, I think this is, see, you see there's a pop-up automatically pops up saying that SAP GTS compliance check result of block. Okay, you have a block on really embargo is released, but sanctions party list screening is a block. So if it is a very much critical, he can reach out to your GTS business person. If it is in case you are working in GTS and some other S4 HANA team block, they will not be able to release this. They need to reach out to you if they want to release, and they can give this screenshot. You can able to, okay, this is blocked with that. So within the S4 HANA system itself, you will be able to see that information, and this will happen very, very tight integration with a synchronization manner. So when I'm talking about a synchronization manner, that means that as soon as you create any document, system try to sync immediately and get the response, because it has a real-time data, that transaction has to happen very real time. But where in master data screening may not be in the real time. It's kind of asynchronized. That means that you transfer and it reaches to the GTS. And there's a rules. Okay, if I don't transfer certain product which I have using in my GTS, what will happen? All those things we'll talk about in the training. But in a high level, as soon as you create a sales order, a purchase order, delivery, you will be able to see the response as soon as possible for complaints. But what about customs management and risk management, which you mentioned? Why I don't see any pop-up? Because as I mentioned, compliance is a mandatory requirement. It has to be followed. But other things are optional. Okay. For example, I want to create. I'm trying to export a particular goods to one country to other country, and I want export declaration to be filed with my customs authority. So what? How they will do? Because customs compliance specialist, a custom specialist in your company, they know, okay, how to create, and they will have a work list. In case of import, the system will propose a work list. Okay, these are the sales documents, or these are the delivery documents are in pipeline. You need to create and get the customs authority sign off and provide back to your federal system teams. Or if it's an export flow, automatically as soon as you create a billing document in your S4 HANA system, the system will try to replicate a export declaration document, and authority will, I mean, your GTS IT team or business team will work on that export declaration document and get it processed through the customs authority and respond back to your S4 HANA to proceed further. Okay, and I'm not gonna create all those now, but I will. What I'm gonna do is I'll try to show you some of the example which is available in the system. And as I mentioned, this manage block document is like you will be able to see single glance, like what are the how many company code that. For example, you wanna look at this particular 1710. They have 73 documents blocked. Okay, if you look at this company GSAM as a company, and I have 27 documents. If I look at 1010 company code, I have 11 documents. And it also give based on each legal regulation, and it's also give a, I mean, this is SAP defined view, but if you want additional legal regulation, and maybe you need to enhance the view, what you want to display, what you wrote. So these all, but technically business will come on daily basis. They will check, okay, what are the documents are in block state, and they will go inside the document. For example, let's take GER. Okay, let me take, okay, if I click here, I can able to directly see the log. My system is blocked. Okay, there's a no log. Maybe there is a recheck is needed on this. Okay, now I should be able to see the log, because it may be very old data, so system could not able to hold that information. So system saying there is no issue with embargo, there is no issue with SPL, that means sanctions party list screening, but the issue with the legal control. What does it mean? This is a legal control. If I expand this, system is saying that, okay, this particular product is not fully classified. That means that I didn't classify this particular product with any ECCN number. So system does not know what kind of a check has to be performed on this legal control. Okay. And I will try to see if any other different views of errors. Okay. So this, because this particular product is not being classified, I system will not be able to proceed further with any type of next level of restrictions. And here the particular combination even trying to determine what kind of a license procedure has to be determined. So because system is stopped, because system was not able to find any ECCN number, or it was not classified with any ECCN number, so system don't know what kind of a license requirement this particular product has. Once I perform the license ECCN number classification, system will again recheck, okay, do I need any licenses, and it will block it. Okay, we're gonna talk about all those. And for example, okay, think that this particular document is blocked, okay, and due to the embargo, and I want to release this, okay, and how I can able to do that. I can also do releasing by click on this arrow system. System is slow. Give a seconds time maybe. Okay, and coming back to the customs, I will not take more than 5 minutes, guys. Okay, just I will try to show you some of the declaration document which is available in the system. Okay, so which will this is the details of export declaration documents. Okay, and what does it mean? We want to communicate my customs authority with all these details. Like this is the process. If I look at example here, and yeah, I'm exporting a goods from US to India, okay, and where I'm going, which export office of exit, what is the office of import. I mean, this is a wrong data, but I think yeah, when I'm exporting from US, why I'm using Hamburg, but yeah, this is a test data, so it will be okay. But what is the product, what kind of quantity, and what is the cost of the goods, okay, what is the value of the goods, and what will be my uh, uh, tariff codes, okay, and not such information is maintained here, but yeah, I can able to maintain all these, and I can communicate to my customs authority, and I can able to process through. Okay, let me see if I have any existing example. Okay. So I have few documents. Let me go in, and if you look at here, this flow is generated out of Germany to US. And if you look at here, there's a failure from here. They're trying to generate this customs export declaration document to customs authority. But Kumar, you may have a doubt while you're demo, while you're giving a training. Do you still really go to the customs authority to get sign up? No, SAP also provide a offering that simulation. We no need to send this information to authorities, but we can simply send, like we are sending to authority, and there is a transaction, we can say that okay, fine, in that simulation, and I will be able to complete my process validations. Okay, and I will also try to tell you what kind of a challenges will come while you're using a simulation and real-time data with authorities. Okay, so we're gonna talk about all those. Okay, this is at a high level, and we can also try to talk more on the how the preference module work, and I'm gonna discuss more on that. I'm not really sure we have a good amount of data available here for me to show you, but at high level we are going to demo each and every aspect what have been discussed, what have been communicated. But my only point in the whole discussion, I will try to give you 100% one clarity to you all. As a trainer, I will only provide 1 to 2% of GTS. But remaining 90%, how you utilize that 30 days or 3 months period, and how much, as soon as we talk about something, you need to go back, come back with more questions, try to practice yourself, come back your understanding. Because while I'm explaining, it is seems to be very simple, but once you start testing or once you start executing, you will find a new challenges or new way of issues. Okay, that gives remaining 98%. Okay, this is a fact. Even if somebody say that I will teach you 50%, you just need to spend 50%. That never be the case. As a trainer, any trainer can give 2 to 2%, 1 to 2% of training. The remaining 90% based on how much you really practice, how much you are really focused on the training, and how you came up with the questions, how you are asking the question. That kind of gives you the remaining aspects of it. And once you start working with your customer, you may see different issues, but I think you, with the experience what you have gained with the training, you will be able to achieve uh, by yourself. Okay, this is what I want to pass it. If you are really interested to learn, You've really focused, because after 90 days of training, if you don't, okay, you just participate this call and go back and come again to the next day morning call and again go back, then it is not at all, you will not be able to achieve what you really wanted. Okay, as a trainer, we don't want to encourage such information as such thing, but if you're really interested, you can spend the time at least an hour on the once the training is done, because as it's a weekend, we are planning on a weekend, maybe try one other day, 2 days, maybe we have, if it's a daily training, you may not able to try, but you have a 1 2 weeks, one Saturday Sunday, whatever we discussed, try to spend next 1 week and come back with any questions, and we can also discuss like how many questions you come back, we I will be able to talk more. Sometimes we'll limit it to whatever we want to discuss, but we may not able to go beyond that box. But if you ask more questions, we can ask, we can talk, we can, I can share my experiences with the customer, how what kind of a challenges we experienced. Okay, that's all. As I mentioned, at high level, this is what part of our demo training, but feel free to post your questions, and next 10 minutes max. Okay, and if no other questions after 10 minutes, I think we are good for the day, and maybe we'll I think experts of team will reach out to you for the training timings and all the other aspects. Yes, Anish, I didn't see the
Kumar,
message.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So probably I am like say SAP is completely new to me. My question might be like little bit of so I was just going through the SAP consultant job descriptions and something couple of openings which is actually coming. So most of them are asking for like at least couple of one or two implementations which is completed in SAP GTS. So what does implementation mean, or are we just looking covering only functional aspect of these three modules?
I think if you remember, I was talking a statement that we also gonna talk about. Basically, in SAP world, the implementation means that you did develop for a customer GTS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's a two type, basically two or three people call basically, but I feel so two types of project. One, implement for them, and the second is support them. Okay, somebody is implemented, you are trying to fix any issues on the daily basis, whatever they experience. Okay, one is AMS support project, one is implementation project. Okay, some people will call development project. So in a terminology can be little vary, but things are implementation means you are implementing brand new or existing, they have existing GTS, but you are migrating them to E4H version with lot many new add-ons. Okay, or some corrections. Okay, that kind of a process they call implementation. But if you are working on support, even if you ask me, right, if you really have a knowledge whether implementation or support or not, 200% differences, but there is a value add for implementing. If you implement, you will see different type of experience. If you are working on a support project, you will have a different type of experience. Okay, so most likely you will have a more edge on implementation. That's why most of the job openings ask for implementation. So we gonna talk about what kind of a implementation while you are going for a new customer. Okay, and if you
Okay.
are at very proposal stage, okay, you just got your project signed up, you are now starting with initial workshops. Okay, maybe you're collecting the details, what kind of a question, how you need to prep up yourself, those kind of aspects also to be covered in the training for it. Okay, I'm not going to share any document, okay, you use this Excel template, send to your customer, they will give. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you what kind of question you need to ask based on the situation, because it will be 100 different variations based on the customer to customer. I will try to generalize and try to educate you guys how you can able to frame the questions while you're working for. That is the job of me here, to train you, because I see, if you ask me, Kumar, in this project they are using different, that can be done, but we will try to give you the hypothetical situations, and I will try to see what best can be easily understand, and you can able to correlate to other scenarios to it. Hope I able to answer, and even I did summarize other aspects which we are planning to cover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, Kumar, yeah.
Anyone else has any questions? I see a few new names, but yeah, I think Rakesh, Ramana, Ilyas, Kishore, Ahmad. Any questions? Feel free to ask because as it's a demo, I don't want to overshoot much about how system works and all. But at a high level, this is what we are gonna discuss next whatever period of time we part of this batch. Okay. If no other questions, thank you so much for your timing and our training team will reach out to you for upcoming activities and feel free to share your feedback. Thank you so much. So,
Will now be recorded.
thanks, man. So we are gonna start with high-level basics of how SAP GTS works, how it is integrated with other other modules, how what kind of a prerequisite it has to be in place. So those kind of high-level overview we are gonna discuss. Okay, let me know once you can see my screen. Ravi, do we have the fourth person joining now?
No, you can start it. He is unable to join today. Okay, he requested to
Mhm.
start.
Okay. Okay, some issue with my sharing rights. Maybe this is okay. Let's start. I mean, I may not be able to present for today, but I think I will try to be more details as much as possible. Okay. So before we start our training, so I would like to ask you a few mandatory aspects. One is that as soon as we are done with the training, I would like all you to go through the content and try to be practice as much as possible. Once you get your SAP access, make your system setup for your GTS system. When you are working, as I mentioned in the demo session, GTS system will never work on the same. I mean, in technically, in most of the customers, technically it is always separate box. Okay, whatever you have in S4 HANA like EC, SD, MM, PP, finance, all in one box, and GTS always in other box. So this is only the option available in the market. No, there's a SAP also came up with the latest approach that you can also deploy your GTS also part of the same S4 box with a different client. Okay, so this is called co-deployment concept. This is one of the approach available. However, most of the customer prefer to implement GTS separately. In our training batch, we are going to use two different system. One is P30, which is your S4 HANA system. One is GTS system. Okay, so you need to get install both the systems and you need to get the credential for both. Then this is a step number one. Step number two, once you have get the system access, then once we enable the system, what is the key element you need to understand. So in order to work SAP GTS, you need to have a basic understanding of some of the modules like SD, MM. At least these are the two basic understanding. I'm not expecting you to know in and out of SD, but this is a basic information you must know. The reason why I'm saying is if you don't know SD and MM, you can still survive. However, the problem will come in like while you wanna test it something or while you wanna understand something, you will have a little more challenge because it's always GTS system is a slave system. That means that it works for S4 HANA system or a feeder system. S4 HANA system sends, for example, sales document to GTS. GTS has to clear the screening for that particular sales order. Okay, and it has its own rules to how to screen and all, but it will not have its own data. Okay, on the transactional basis, once the data is transferred from S4 to GTS, it replicates the same data and perform the screening and sends the results back. So that's why it is kind of a more depend upon your feeder system data. Okay, even and the other reason is why SAP GTS always separately implemented. We can support GTS, one single GTS system with multiple feeder system. Why we are calling feeder system instead of calling S4 HANA system or something? Any system, like it may not be S4 HANA system. I can use ECC system. I can use MDC system. I can use some other third party non-SAP system also as a input system to GTS to perform all this activity. That's why we always call feeder system means the data which is coming for to GTS. In our case, S4 HANA is our feeder system. If I call as a feeder system, that means that S4 HANA system, GTS system. Okay, then that is the first thing. The second thing which I want you to discuss about is the modules. Okay, when I say SD, right? SD is basically for what? You are selling some product to your customers. Like when you are selling your product to the customer, as I see some of the people not really familiar much of SAP. So when you are using a SD module, now people call OTC or differently. But what this module does is it kind of a create a order for the like whatever you are placing order by your customer, they will create a sales order because it's a sale is happening. So as soon as the sales order gets created, we will convert that value into the delivery to in order to make your picking, packing activity and all those things. And then we will perform this either to billing document. Okay, that means that we are requesting invoice or we are sharing invoice document to customer to pay the goods, whatever so pay the amount which we sell the goods to customer. Okay, this is a high level flow: sales order, delivery, invoice. Okay, from the sales point of view. So this is a very common terminology if you are working in SAP SD model. And how it is integrated with GTS. When you are selling, that means that you are outgoing your goods to your premises to customer premises. So when GTS comes into play exclusively means when you are selling your goods internationally, for example, that we call export. In terms of a trade words, it is we call exports. When you are doing exports goods from your country to any other country, the trade has to be obligate with all the rules. For example, is it possible, are you entitled to sell these goods to the customer? Are you is your country is accepting to sell these goods to certain target country or not? If you want to sell this particular product, do you have a proper authorities? Okay, either you should have a licenses or you should have some kind of a format of information, you should have it. Okay, whether you have all those things or not, okay, even once it is done, whether you are able to sell these goods to customer, if you want to communicate to your authorities, local authorities, okay, saying that I am selling this goods to so and so country and so person, you need to get the approval from your authorities. We call customs authorities. Okay, think in a way that you are selling a goods from US to Germany, okay, or US to some other country, then you need to get an approval from your customs authority of US. Okay, then only once they approve, only you can able to sell your goods to your customer. This process we call customs module. Whatever validation we are talking earlier is a compliance module. In the next session, I am going to show you in the system how it documented, because I'm unable to share my screen for some reason. But next session we'll be able to show you how it works. But I don't want to waste today's session. I want to interact more and make you familiar with all the wordings of what we are going to use in the GTS training batches. So this process we call export, customs authority export clearance process. Means we are trying to export a goods to customer which is outside the market. Kumar, is that we will only use GTS for when you are doing only internationally, but when you are using international, the GTS comes in play. However, even if you are doing your domestic transactions, okay, we also perform certain trade compliance activity. It will not trade compliance activities means you should make sure that respective person is not denied party person. Like all trade will decide, okay, so and so person you should not sell the goods to so and so person, you should not do a business with them, even if it's domestically, because countries like US, it's very huge country. So the company located in somewhere else and the customer be located in some other region. So how they will know whether this person is right or not, or whether authorized person to receive the goods or not? So it may be terrorist organization, or it may be banned organization, or it may be restricted by local authorities. So how do you know all this? No company will be able to recollect all these things, or no company will be able to remember all these names and all. So what we will do, there is a concept called a data provider. In market, some of the data providers are more prominently used. One is discards, okay, and few others. I mean, discards are some people call MK denial, okay, and there is a few other data provider which I am gonna discuss in the next session. But most prominently used data provider is discards. What this discards does is, this discards company collect all the information across the globe and prepare a file and share it with you whenever you subscribe. Okay, once you subscribe with the discards, okay, I have a business from so and so countries, they will provide you all the list. Okay, what that list contains, the persons who is blocked are restricted by World Trade. For example, I don't want to name it. Maybe there is a terrorist organization group. They will include that person's name or terrorist organization name or familiar names related to the organization. With a certain proofs, they will have the proof why they are keeping that name in the list. That list we will receive and will upload in our GTS. So what it does, as I said, GTS will work based on the rules. So as soon as you create a sales order from the S4HANA system, immediately the data will be transferred to GTS and it replicate a document into the GTS system, say customs document. We call customs document. Sales order gets transferred to GTS. It's created like a customs document. As soon as the customs document gets created, we will perform the screening. What is the screening? First screening is whether this particular sales order or a custom document has a partners. Is this partners means, the partner means the whoever is involving the sales transaction, who is the selling person, who is the payer, who is the billable person. All those information we will collect in the GTS and we will try to validate whether this particular address is matching with any of the sanctions list. Okay, sanctions by World Trade. So how it works, for example, there is a person name called ABCD and my sanctions party says ABC because ABCD is almost matching with ABC. So it create a block immediately. That means that it based on your rules. Okay, whether if you set 100% rule, ABC will not match with ABCD. But if you set 70% rule, for example, so system will start comparing 70%. I mean, this ABCD with comparing with ABC is almost 70% matching, then system will set a block on the sales order. That means that you will not be able to proceed further with any certain activities. Okay, so then customs trade team will go back and check, okay, is it a really a denied party person? Then, oh no, it's not a denied party person. As per their regular business model, they will validate and they will unblock. But if this is a real denied party person, then they will stop transaction with that customer. So system has automatic restrictions, control not to perform any unauthorized transaction. So this is an export point of view. And whether the delivery also gets screened, yes. Once you create a delivery transfer, delivery also transfer to GTS. It also create like customs document and it also perform the similar activity. So this whole process we call compliance screening SPL process. This might be, you might hear this word so often. Okay, sanctions party list screening. SPL means sanctions party list screening. What it does, it compare your customer address with the sanctions party list address based on the percentage you set in the system. It compare and it sets the block. And based on later point in time, trade compliance trade team will monitor manually, validate if this is a real customer or a blocked person. Then based on that, they will either block or release the customer, the transaction. So this is the process. The same way, sales order gets created, transfer to GTS, it perform. Now the other rule, okay, first rule what we call sanctions party listing. Second rule is embargo. What does it mean? You are selling a goods from US to country, your customer is located in Syria. So immediately system check, okay, country, so US to Syria, there is a embargo restriction. Then system will immediately stop. If you remember, SPL is work based on your customer. Now the customer address, okay, basically where is this located? Is it matching with SPL sanctions party list or not? Now we are comparing country to country, whether I should be able to do a business with country US, country Syria. For example, if you create a country customer in Germany, embargo will say that no, this Germany is not embargoed. Then the system will not make any block and the transaction will be screened. So you can have a second control. Third control, whatever sales order you're creating, you will have some product which you are selling, right? So that product, we will check whether this particular product required any authorizations, means do I need to have any extra licenses from my customs authority? If yes, I will get this license added to the process, and it will perform the screening. This we process called legal control. Okay, I'm going to go in the system and show you how it works. But this is the three major concepts in a compliance screening process. Compliance has to be followed by company. There is no alternative. You have to be followed these three rules. Okay, that's why if you look at some of the companies start implementing compliance module first. Okay, because it has to be followed. There is no exception. But wherein the authority, whether if you want to reach out to your customs authority, get your export permission and all that can be done even through your brokers, but wherein compliance has to be done by yourself. There is no way out. This is a sales point of view. Kumar, is it only sales the GTS comes in play? No, from the purchase. What do you mean by purchase? You are selling some goods from your suppliers. At the same time, from the supplier's point of view also, they will send some goods, they will receive some goods from the supplier. In that case, what we will call this supplier process, purchase process will be handled in SAP called material management or SCM, multiple names. Now SAP is keep evolving the name, but purchase process. What does it mean? When you are selling a goods from your supplier to your company, we call purchase. If you are selling these goods from the internationally, we call imports. Nowadays if you are hearing wording from like you have a ban, you have a tariff from the multiple if you export a goods to us is putting a huge tariffs on India, or huge tariffs on China, use tariffs on other countries. What does it mean? That US is purchasing a goods from India, for example, or a China, for example, for some other country. While they are importing a goods, they are putting a huge charges, import charges. For example, you are importing a some kind of a wheat, okay, or some kind of a rice, okay. They are putting, if the rice cost is 50, and they are putting almost 50% tariff on that, $50. Okay, that means that your import the charge to receive your goods, apart from all your transport charges and all, you also need to pay $25 for example, for 10 cases. Okay, so this import process also, that means that is an import also. In GTS word we call as an import, but in a normal SAP language or any business language we call purchase. So purchase also required a screening, because I should not do a purchase transaction with unauthorized supplier. What will happen? The same concept. The purchase document will get created in SAP. As soon as the purchase document gets created, it transfers to GTS as a customs document. The only difference between sale and purchase is customs document import, customs document export. That's how we will call it. So purchase document transfer to GTS, it created like a customs document import. And this again validate all the supplier information with again comparing with your sanctions party list screening. If there is any sanctions, it blocks the purchase process. And if it is if again embargo, are you purchasing from certain country which is not allowed, and again the particular document has required any authorizations, then we also perform the legal control. This is the two different, I think, hope you understand why I said initially that you need to have a basic information about sales and purchase. If you don't know how to create sales order, it is little difficult to validate your functionality in the GTS. Okay, you need to rely on some certain OTC person or person. Yes, Anish.
Kumar, sorry to block you. I want to like just understand, or like so you are told that okay, there will be a GTS block, right? Ideally,
Mhm.
so will
Mhm.
that be under SC or like SD or MM or any of the modules when they say that okay, this is actually screened or sanctioned or this one, and then they reach out to GTS team to check whether this is what is the reason? How does it
Good
like?
question. Yeah, that's good, valid question. Yes. So what will happen, right? GTS also it has individual team. Okay, they have their, at least there's a person called compliance specialist. What he person does, every day he will come to the work and he will open a work list. What it does, whatever the sales transaction were blocked, he will open the sales transaction and he will look at one by one, and he will either it will block, he will make it block for fully, or he will release it to further processing. So what will happen when you try to create your sales order? If that particular sales order is blocked, you will get a pop-up. If you want to create the sales process to further down the line, that means that you need to process the delivery and ship to the customer, then you need to reach out to your customer GTS person directly, because you need to get this done immediately. No. He created a sales order, but the process can be started later. Then end of the day, the GTS person will validate his work list in the GTS. Okay, what are the documents are blocked? Open the block list, and he will keep clearing based on the priority. Okay, and technically, day in day out, they won't reach out to the GTS person unless until it is an emergency. There is a emergency orders, or there is a rush orders. Okay, they need to deliver these goods immediately as soon as you create the sales order. In such cases, only they will reach out to the GTS team. But GTS team will do its own way. Okay, whenever they, based on their schedule, they will keep clearing the documents. I think they based on a company. For some companies, once the sales order created, they has to clear by within 24 hours time frame, and some companies will have 6 hours timeline, and some companies will have 1 week. I mean, based on their company rule set, they will opt GTS person, GTS teams, not GTS as a consultant, GTS as a business user. Business user will go to the transaction, validate why this system is blocked this transaction. He will review whether it is blocked for SPL, is whether it is blocked by embargo, whether it is blocked by legal control. Based on that, he will validate and they will release the transaction.
So is this
Hope that
a is this a part of SAP consultant's job, or companies will generally have another compliance specialist specifically for this?
it's like how you have a sales rep, right?
Yeah.
Sales employees. The same way GTS also, the SAP standard way is compliance specialist we call. Okay, that there is
Okay.
a role is the compliance specialist. That compliance specialist responsibility to clear these documents as and when it keep adding into the GTS.
Okay. Got it.
Perfect. So thanks for asking. And yeah, I would request all of you to keep asking as and when you have any doubt. No need to hesitate. You can pause it. If I feel that is I don't want to stop in a flow in between, I will not ask you, but keep raising your hand if you have any questions. Once you are done your answer, you can remove your hand raise. Okay. So thanks, Anish. Okay. So coming, yeah, Ankit.
So Kumar, one question like this SO and purchase order is one thing, but about what about delivery and other things also purchase equation for inbound. So for everything we have to go through GTS or only for when we are creating sales order or purchase order. For other
Okay.
things also we have GTS.
Perfect. So again, it's a valid question because it is not. I will not be able to generalize the statement, but I will try to give based on the experience. So the point is, some company. Okay, why are we doing the compliant GTS screening? Whether we don't want to take any risk of doing a business with unauthorized persons, or I don't want to take a sale with unauthorized country, or where I should not do a business. Because if you do a transaction with certain countries, while you are doing export to the respective country, customs authority will identify you are trying to do a business with certain unauthorized person. They may put a huge penalty on you, or they may also stop your license to do a business. So it may impact globally, or if you have a global company, you will lose your reputation. It may impact your shares also if it's a public company. So which transaction has to perform a screening? That is based on your business model. For example, you creating a sales order, okay, and your as I mentioned, SPL works on partners, okay, which are the partners. And as per your business model, you are not going to add any new partners in the delivery. While you are creating whatever partners you are going to add, you are going to add everything in the sales order. Then we will not recommend to perform a screening again on the delivery. But what if you create a sales order with only certain partners, but once the sales delivery gets created, maybe you will start adding carriers, you will start adding freight forwarders, or you start adding manually ship to party addresses, or you may adding end users in a time of delivery creation. In such cases, we will tell the customer that, okay, please implement, you also consider delivery also screening. That means that sales order gets screened if that is released, and again it goes to the delivery. Once delivery gets created, the delivery also will go for a screening. It screens only the partner which is not which is externally added or which is not been screened earlier. That means that based on your business model, you need to decide whether you only require sales order and purchase, or you also require sales order and delivery documents. Okay, but we will not really complaint screening on the invoice document. The reason behind is by the time you generate invoice, the shipment is already out. There is no point you perform complaint screening on the billing document because you already send your goods to your customer. So there is no point that you perform a complaint screening. It's too late. So SAP itself not offering any complaint screening on the invoice. But why do you talk about invoice? As I mentioned, if you want to create export declarations, okay, you want to confirm. I mean, when I'm talking about customs, I'm going to talk about details. But sales order and delivery relevant, whether based on your business model, whether we'll only activate sales order or delivery or both. The same way from the purchasing order type also, whether you want to do a purchase order or inbound delivery or only purchase order. And as Ankit asked that, do we also perform a screening on a pre-purchase documents, maybe info record or contracts, based on, as I mentioned, it is all based on your business model. Okay, but SAP is not offering standardly for source list or info record, okay, or purchase requisition. But if you want, you need to enhance the functionality. But SAP is offering from the purchase, because info record or purchase requisition may not be the real transaction. But some of the companies, I hear that, I mean, I see some of the companies still asking, okay, we want to screen at the time of info record, I mean, purchase requisition itself. So I will be able to have a proper control at initial phase. If I have a restriction and this is a denied party person, I will stop my purchase flow from there itself. I will look for some other supplier who can sell that my product to us. So it is depend upon your business model, but as part of when you start a new project, you need to understand what kind of a checks, what kind of a document you need to be involved, what kind of a document. Based on, you need to understand a business model, you need to propose, okay, based on this understanding, you need to activate your compliance checks at here, compliance checks at here. This we're gonna talk about as soon as and when we are keep talking on the transactions. But yes, it depends upon your business model. But SAP offering on the purchase order, inbound delivery from the purchase point of view, sales order and outbound delivery from the sales point of view. Even if you want to activate inquiry quotations, you can do it. Okay, whatever transaction which can be available in a simple language in your sales pre-sales requirements. Okay, because sale in inquiry, if you start doing inquiry, again it will be quotation or it will be sales order. So it is kind of a repetitive work and there may not be really value add. Hence, you will be able to switch to sales order. But SAP supports even if you do it inquiry level, quotation level, contract level, sales order level, whatever level you want, we can able to get it. Okay, coming back to the original topic. So as keep talking, right, we have so much dependency on sales purchase record, and we also need to understand sometime we nowadays we also using a TMS model, transport management model. From there also we can able to perform a screening. Okay, and EWM transactions, we also have a warehouse manage extended warehouse management. There also we have SAP integration with GTS. That means that nowadays if anybody is trying to implement GTS EWM, if you have a GTS, you need to also enable EWM GTS integration. Now, how these two systems will connect? Okay, you have now S4HANA system where SD, TM, EWM, GT, all those system, and GTS is separate system. For all the transaction, all the complaint screening from the SD, all those, including WM, the transaction will be screened, processed through these two systems using methodology of RFC, remote functional call. The system will only use a RFC method in order to perform the screening, transfer the data between these two systems. Wherein if you are using a TM system, the communication methodology between TM and GTS system is web services. We are using web services concept in order to communicate data between TM and GTS. If you have a direct communication with GTS and TM, even TM on embedded, it's embedded TM within S4HANA system. It will not work through RFC. It has to be worked through web services. Okay, nowadays, if you, I mean, there are some exceptions where we are using web services, but in a standardly SD, MM, all the screening WM will be get screened through GTS via RFC call. Okay, we need to enable the first thing is we need to, once the development started, what you need to do as part of a GTS consultant, you need to identify what are the document types of purchase. Okay, you have a 100 different type of purchase orders you have in your scope. Which are the purchase order types you are relevant for GTS? You need to identify that. And you also need to identify the same way what are the sales document type are relevant, what are the plans are relevant, what are the company codes are relevant, what are the item categories are relevant. These are all information you need to collect and you need to map into the GTS system. This is the first setting. Before to that, you also need to enable the communication between your feeder system to GTS system. Okay, once these two done, then we will start identifying whether the compliance screening, how the compliance screening should happen for each document, how the customs setting has to be happen. Then we will talk about how the trade preference model should work. Okay, so far we are talked about how the system should be communicated, what kind of information you should know from the sales point of view. Like for example, you have a sales order. Okay, what are the information? For example, sales order will have maybe 100 fields, but you may not require all 100 fields to be transferred to GTS. The GTS will only require whatever data need to be transferred. We're going to talk about it. The same way, purchase. What are the purchase orders? In order to do all these things, we start with transfer of master data first. Master data, what are the master data? For example, customers, for example, suppliers. You will have a product master. All this master data has to be transferred to GTS. Based on the modules you are going to implement in GTS, the additional master data also required. Like you will have to transfer to BOM. You need to transfer your material price. You need to transfer your procurement indicators. Okay. You need to transfer your contracts. Okay. Contact persons. All those information may require to transfer. Yes, Anish.
Kumar, you were explaining about the RFCs and something about TM. I didn't understand that section. So only
Okay.
thing I understood that the feeder system, there is a communication which comes through RFC. So what is the difference actually between RFC and TM? What is TM actually?
Okay, TM is a transport management system. It's also part of S4HANA system. Okay, this is also available in a TM. TM is a model. Okay, transportation management model. They do a transportation activities, and when you use a TM as a module from your feeder system, which is an S4HANA system, you cannot use communication method RFC. You need to use web services. Okay, through API. I mean, SAP use a API methodology or web services methodology. These are different methodologies to communicate, right? So in case of a TM, we cannot use web, RFC, remote functional call, but all other modules can be connected from the feeder system to GTS with RFC. TM is a separate module where
So
they
the,
use for a transport management.
so the SAP consultant will have to know both, right? How to do an
Yes.
RFC as well as the
Basically, you might not really need to know. It is a basis task, but as a GTS consultant, you need to know. For example, if you are implementing a TM, then you need to invoke your basis team. That basis team, can you please set up our ABAP team? Can you please set up our web services? You need to tell them. If it's RFC, you need to ask like RFC user ID. You need to ask for your RFC ports. Okay, I mean they need to set up all the ports, how system will communicate. You need to also ask user details like to communicate to RFC, all those, right? The same
which
way web services, what are the details you need to, I mean, you need to know what kind of a setup you need to know, but you don't need to do that communication setup. That communication setup has to be done by your basis. But you are the owner to communicate with them or coordinate with the teams to get the setup done.
okay, got it.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I have some challenge to share my screen, but in the next tomorrow's call, we will be make sure that we will be able to see the system, how things are going to work out. But in the training, as I mentioned, we don't have a TM properly embedded. I will try to see if I can able to make it in 1 or 2 sessions later point in time. But initially we will focus on the RFC way of communication. That means that we will try to transfer the data from SD, MM, EWM, all those modules. Okay, later point in time, based on the availability, we will try to see, because the TM setup has to be done in the system and the web services setup has to be done. So it is not so simple. So it has to be done with the basis. I will try to see if I can able to show you at least some kind of a recorded screen, like how the communication will happen from one system to another. But an idea is that you need to know, if you are using a TM, how the communication has to be done. If you are using other modules, how the data has to be transferred. This is a first piece as a communication setup. We call this is a communication setup approach. Then once the communication is identified, then you need to focus on scope. What does it mean? What are the processes are in scope? For example, you have only sales. Okay, as for your company, you are not doing any purchase internationally. You always use a domestic supplier, and your company said, I don't need to implement GTS for purchase. Okay, then you can only implement sales. Like, you need to identify the scope of your transaction. So far we talked about sales order. I may have 100 different types of sales orders, right? So I may not require to have all my sales transaction types are relevant for my GTS. So then I need to identify what are the sales transaction types are relevant. Then what is the item category? Maybe that's where I said you need to have a bit of sales, but I will show you what is the difference between item category and all. Then we has a concept in SAP is called company code. What does it mean? The responsibility of sale, purchase. Like, he is a kind of financially responsible person. Like, how much revenue is generating, how much sale you are happening, all those will be controlled at the company code level. And the second organization element is called plant. Okay, you will have multiple other organization, but we will not focus so much on other organization element. We will only focus on company code and a plant. Company code is a financial entity, and a plant is a real warehouse, a real plant, a real virtual plant, or there's a physical location where you do your operations. Okay, so these are only two organization element are relevant for GTS. Okay, and when your company code is transferred to GTS, we call foreign trade organization. We will not call company code in GTS. If it's a company code in S4 or a FEDA system, we will call that as FTO, foreign trade organization. The same way, as I mentioned, plant is one of the master organization element in S4. In GTS we call LU, legal unit. Keep these two things in mind. Okay, so if I call as a FTO, that means that I'm representing a company code of S4. So whatever address you have in a company code, we will also. Why do we need this? As I mentioned, I need to understand in GTS, I need to replicate this transaction. I cannot use exactly the same data. I will copy this, all the information what is coming from S4, and I create a document called customs document. If you remember, I mentioned this. While creating a custom document, I cannot use a concept called company code. I will use a foreign trade organization. Like, company is like financial independent, financial responsible activity, but wherein FTO, I'm only looking for foreign trade related activities. Okay, that's why SAP decided as a FTO. Okay, legal unit means it's like plant in a SAP. Legally, it's kind of a place. Okay, what place we are receiving. So based on these two only, I can able to understand what kind of rules I need to be followed, which country to which country I'm selling, because I need to know, right, from where I'm where my transaction is being organized. If I selling a goods to some country, I need to know from where I'm starting. That will give you address of your legal unit. Supplier, customer, it gives their target address. That's how I can able to determine, okay, plant address, okay, I can understand this is a source, and customer address, this is a target. Then I will start using these two companies. For example, embargo. If I want to check embargo, I need to have this information. I need to have some other information. Legal authorization, do I need to have authorization? If I want to sell to certain target country, I need to know where I'm selling from. So these all information is called organizational data. Okay, once you're done with communication, we will talk about organizational data, which is FTO and LU. Basically, these are the two organization elements, and we have some more, but I think we're going to talk in a later point in time. But for now, remember that company code is equivalent to FTO, legal unit is equivalent to your plant. Okay, then moving next. So once organization element is done, you also identify what are the documents are in scope. You also need to have kind of a setup in a GTS, what kind of a document need to be done. Yes, Ankit.
I have two questions. Like one is like in EWM and TM. So what do we scan in GTS? Like we have SD, SO, and MM purchase order. So in EWM and TM, what exactly documents we are
Oh,
scanning?
good question. So yeah, when you comes to TM, right? For example, let me start with TM. So TM, what we will do, we are planning. Okay, we'll identify who is the carrier, who is the freight forward, who is the executive carrier, who is the what else? Okay, some kind of a partners keep adding, which is not available in sales. That means that I have a new partners or a new addresses. I need to also verify those carriers are authorized or they are not part of any embark code. Okay, and executive carriers or freight forwarders. Okay, I also need to validate those addresses also whether they are fall under any legal restrictions on them. Okay, coming back to EWM. EWM also sometime I may add additional partners like some kind of a 3PL, 3PLs or something, or majorly EWM comes compliance screening because you're right. We are already screening sales order and purchase. Why do you need to perform again TM and EWM? The reason is in case of a TM, there may be additional partners come in play, which not been available in the sales order. We need to perform the screening. In case of a TM, as I mentioned, legally we may need to look at sales order will have only main partner, but when it comes to EWM, it may be like you will add some kind of additional partners or package information or kind of a pallets and all. So when you have all those things, right? So you need to make sure legal regulation, like whether do I need to have extra licenses required. Okay, those things need to be only able to validate if you use EWM document only. That's why we will use EWM document to validate whether the legal control is properly aligned. That means that I have a license in order to perform my legal checks. If I want to sell material A in sales order, but when it comes to in while picking, they realize okay, material A is not available. They are picking material B. So these changes will not be able to be visible in the sales order. We will be only able to visible in the EWM document. That's why we will also screen EWM document. Hope that answers it.
Thank you, Kumar. And Kumar, one more question like this RFC. So, like when we are getting any document in GTS, so we are using this SKSQ01, this Q1, Q2, or we have some other T codes for this GTS for like to
See,
monitor
we are
purpose.
also using queues. We are also using SM59, right? If you look at SM59, I mean, I'm going inside details because, but SM59, if you look at RFC, remote function call, remote RFC user IDs, RFC destinations, we will also use queues. But I'm not going to talk about queues at this point in time, SMQ1, SMQ2. But as of now, we will basically use SM59 RFC methodology. Okay, so
Thank
now
you.
so far we talked about communication methodology, we talked about organizational structure, which is the mandatory information, then we talked about data. Like now coming back, two more factors before we end up this class. One is a master data. As I mentioned, all the customer has to be transferred to GTS, all the material has to be transferred to GTS, all the supplier has to be transferred to GTS, all the contact person has to be transferred to GTS. This all the data has to be transferred to GTS. As I mentioned, we will replicate all the data in the GTS, then only we will be able to perform the screening. How the communication? Okay, when you create a sales order, it is synchronized screening. Means as soon as you create a sales order, the data will be go to GTS, immediately come the response back to you. Okay, because you can't simply wait until you perform some screening. But in case of a master data, we will always try to use asynchronous methodology. That means that we will create a change pointers. That means that if any initial, right, as soon as you're done with the project, you will transfer all the master data as initial transfer to GTS. But Kumar, is it the only way that we will transfer? No. There may be changes in your customer address. There may be changes in your product master. There may be changes in your supplier. So that also SAP is handled with the change pointers concept. That means that as soon as you change the address of any supplier, immediately there is entry created in the respect to change pointers table. which is BDCP2. And as soon as the BDCP2 entry get added, we will transfer the data from there to GTS. This is SAP standard applications are available. I'm gonna show that too. Okay, this is also part of a communication, but customer master will be used asynchronized methodology. Means it takes some time. For example, you create a if you change some customer address, it created entry in our change pointer table. Maybe the batch job runs some every 30 minutes. Means after 30 minutes only, this master data will be transferred to GTS. But wherein transactional data will be transferred immediately to GTS and come back to the response. This is the one of the, I mean, if you go for any interview, and this is one of the basic question that, okay, what is the basic difference communication between transactional data and master data? Master data will be most likely in the asynchronized methodology, wherein transactional data is synchronized methodology. Okay, then as a, this is, I mean, I'm gonna pause it here, but so far whatever we discussed are need to be whatever terminology I talked about, whatever wording we talked about, this is all about GTS. Okay, whatever we talked about, we are gonna exponentially valid tomorrow call. What I'm, don't miss it tomorrow call. Tomorrow we are going to discuss about whatever we talked about, especially in the how the communication setup has to be done, how the data will be transferred, how the change pointer will work. Okay, how the purchase data will be transferred, how purchase order data will be transferred, all this information will be shown in the system. So the plan is most likely on the Saturday sessions will be, we try to keep theoretical knowledge, but I will not only say like theory, only theory, but it's like based on the theory and a system, both go hand in hand, but try to project on one day will be like more on theory. I will try to explain. Next day, I will try to interact what discussed we have done today. I would like you ask, as I mentioned in the start of the call, please go through the recording, come back with any damn questions you have. You have write any, I mean, don't feel that is a silly question or a simple question. Maybe for you it is complex, but others may be simple, but don't hesitate. Keep asking the questions. That's how you will understand. If you don't post any of our questions, then you will not be able to understand. You will, everything is clear now, but once you go after a day or two, you will lose everything. I want you to, if possible, go through once again the recording, come back with any questions you have from the recording today. Tomorrow we're gonna discuss in the first 5 minutes, then we'll start with the system demo related activities. Yes, Anish.
So Kumar, while providing like while sharing the screen and explaining in the SAP system, because I don't have any kind of experience with the SAP systems, or probably with the interface. So will you be explaining like at least some basics which you have told
Yeah,
me,
yeah, sure,
like in terms
sure,
of SD and MM, like at least basics of those as well, because
sure,
this is
sure.
something.
So as I mentioned, we may not able to touch in and out of details of S4 side. I will not talk about how you can able to set up sales orders, how you able to set up this document type. I'm not able to talk about it. I can talk, but it will deviate our purpose of the call. But I will try to say, okay, what you need in order to be part of GTS consulting. I will definitely talk about that. As I know, few people are not really working on SD, so I will make sure that try to cover basics. Okay, but don't expect too much. Okay, Kumar, how I can able to configure new purchase order? I'm not going to teach those because that will deviate our discussions, but I will make sure try to explain. Okay, if you want to create sales order, how you need to navigate, what are the information you need to present, what information will be transferred to GTS. I will make sure you will understand you whatever you as a GTS consultant needed. But as I mentioned, if you know little bit more on top of that, it will be advantage. But even if you don't have, that is fine. I will make sure that you will not be left alone saying that you don't know SD and MM, you will not be able to follow. No, you will not have that situation. But my only point is that if you have that additional advantage, it is easy for you to understand quicker than others. That is only the difference. Yes, Angit.
Yeah, so Kumar, actually, I saw the demo. It was deep and totally clear. But actually, I have question from the demo class. This
Mhm.
you mentioned related to deploy this GTS and in-house and separate works. So,
Mhm.
if you have time today or tomorrow, just 5 minutes, can you please explain this again? Like,
Okay, I can try. I can take it up today. Yeah. So the meaning is, okay, so far, okay, I thought of going to show my screen and show evaluation of the system, but somehow I'm not able to do. But what is happening, right? Maybe you might, some or others know SAP, right? It started some years back, some 30 years back, okay? And it has a multiple evaluation. It started with the SAP 3.I, 2, 3.I, 4, 4.7, 4, sorry, 4.6, ECC, which is ECC 6 version. Then SAP is now migrated with S4 HANA, S4 HANA 2016, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, 20. It keep releasing its versions like S4 side, right? The same way, GTS also started its career somewhere around 20 years back. Okay, some 20 years back, SAP started his implementation. Okay, in initially how it used to be part of SD itself, saying international, sorry, foreign trade. Okay, there's a module within S4 HANA ECC system itself called foreign trade. What used to be done? It used to be done with intrastat declarations. Some kind of a basic checks of a classification used to be handled. Now what happened, SAP is after somewhere in the some 20 years back, okay, let's not use only some small concept of international, let's embed it and build a separate system with all the rules and regulations and which can be handled individually. Then they started implementing GTS, multiple versions. They started with GTS 3, 8, 8.1, sorry, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, 10.1, and GTS 11. So how you know ECC version, right? ECC 6 version, the same way GTS 11 was like ruled world. Okay, it's like almost 10 to 15, 10 years almost. It was no stoppage. They used to upgrade the service packs, but they are the versions like mastering copy. Okay, but and when SAP is coming up with S4 HANA, the same time SAP also started implementing GTS side. They call E4H. How you call S4 HANA in GTS side? They're now not calling GTS 11 and all. They're calling E4H extend. So E4H. Okay. So what does it differs? When you are using the ECC, you used to use GTS 11. Now S4 HANA, they are asking to use GTS E4H. E4H also has a third version now coming in. First version came on 20th year 2021 for 20th version. E4H 2020. Okay, which released on 2020 year. And then they deployed second version is E4H 2023, which is released on 2023. This is the most recent, I mean, most any customer, new customer, if you look at, they will be part of E4H 2023. But SAP also now coming up this year, 2025, with a more upgrade assurance. What does it mean? Coming back to your question. As I mentioned, the evaluation, S4 HANA also evaluating and GTS also being evaluating. But some customers are saying, I don't want to deploy separate box. Okay, because I need to maintain two different systems. I need to maintain two different environments. It is like costly for me. I don't want to do that. Is there any way? Then SAP came back with an idea with E4H co-deployment. Especially with 2023, they started co-deployment. What does it mean? You don't need to log into separate system. You just need to change your client. For example, your S4 HANA is deployed on 20, DS4, for example, development system, DS400, GTS will be on top of DS4 110. This is also possible. SAP now say created in a way that you don't need to be deploy this GTS in separate GTS as a box, but you can also deploy with separate client. You just need to create a separate client, and if you are being using SAP, you will use a concept called client, not only system, right? Once you identify a system, you need to also select the client. Okay, like in development system, you will have at least two different clients. One is development purpose, one is for testing purpose. The same way, SAP also offering separate client for this code deployment concept. Okay, you need to implement 120 for GTS. Is it clear? But if you're using a separate, I mean, SAP is saying you have option to code deployment. However, we are always recommend to go with a separate GTS as a box. That will be advantage. The meaning is you can also support multiple other feeder systems like ECC system to this, but if you have a code deployment, it is little complicated. You may not be able to connect that easily with other non GTS systems with this co-deployment system. Yes,
Thank you,
Ramesh.
Kumar.
So Kumar,
Yes,
I
Ramesh.
have like one more doubt. So you like in the demo class you have told that okay, even the feeder system can be a non-SAP system as well, right? So
Yeah.
will you be explaining how or like how does that connect with SAP GTS? Is it through RFCs or is it through web services or like is it depends on different?
You already have your answer, okay, but you are right. When you are using a non-SAP systems, it can be used APIs, or we can use web services. It can be used RFC. It's depend upon what kind of a non-SAP system we are using it. For example, I will give one simple example. May not be non-SAP system, but one of my customer they're using in Oracle, okay. So Oracle also I'm able to integrate with my GTS system. Oracle also has its own trade system called GTM. However, they want to use SAP GTS because they don't want to subscribe all this information for Oracle and GTS. So they want to connect Oracle also with GTS system. Okay, but it's not so simple like what you have S4 HANA system. But the way they are start using is like they will use APIs, and start calling once the order is created in GTM or Oracle. It will do a call to SAP GTS through API, and it will go back the response back to Oracle. And even if you have using JD AdWords or any other tools, we can also integrate with GTS, but it is through APIs, it's through web services based on the compatibility of target system. But SAP is offering open offer for any tool they can able to integrate. But the methodology, the target side system also has capable to handle the response from the GTS. That's only the point what we need to remember.
So is it like a duty of GTS consultant to identify like say basically the system or which kind of services which needs to be used basically whether it is through
Not
RFC or
really. I mean, I will not say GTS consultant own the responsibility, but it is like your architectural team, right? You will have an architectural team in your
okay
in your project. That
okay
architectural team has to be identified, because what you can say is yes, I can connect. You send the data to. I mean, your responsibility of core GTS and S4HANA. You will not be responsible enough to how the data will be sent out from the third party system to GTS.
okay
Once the data is reached to GTS, how are you able to handle? But as I mentioned, if you're a GTS consultant, that rise up also has to be your responsibility. For example, they are interfacing to GTS. So you need to tell like what kind of details you need to send. Your responsibility is what kind of information you needed from the tool in order to perform your activity.
okay
But your
got it.
role is not like to identify what method. It's like SAP standard offers, for example, if you are connecting with some non-SAP system, either they will use APIs or web services. Standard APIs are available. You can simply call API from any other tool. Okay, but
Oh, yeah
your responsibility is only that what kind of data you need from that API to the third-party tool to your target system. For example, I will give you a few example based on what I used to see. They used to perform all the classification in some third-party tools. Okay, I'm not going to talk about what is the classification now, but the classification information also has to be come to a GTS system. Okay, they perform the classification third-party tool, and we will async with perform with API that from that tool to SAP GTS, and we'll get that update from the API through GTS.
okay
Yeah. So as mentioned, today class will be like 1 hour 15 minutes duration. But tomorrow I'm gonna start like if I have any questions initial 5 minutes, I'm gonna discuss about it, and then we will go back to the system demo with basic overview of all those things. But as I mentioned, if you miss any class, I would make sure before you join the next session, please go through the recording, because I may not able to have a time to revisit all the aspect what we have discussed in the previous call, because we spent hours by hours to discuss all the things, and for just one person we will not be able to revisit all. Okay, I mean that's from my side, unless you have any questions. Yeah, any questions by Rakesh and Ahmad? You will have So if no other questions, I think thank you so much for joining today, and we'll resume tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kumar.
Will now be recorded.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Let's go back. So what we were discussing yesterday is like high level overview of how system works, what kind of a prerequisite we need, what kind of a terminology we are planning to gonna use in the GTS area. Okay. Today we are going to have, as I mentioned yesterday, I was not able to present my screen. So I will quickly walk through what we have discussed, kind of a recap what we discussed. Then I will start the proceedings. Okay. So first what we said, SAP has multiple S4 side, like which is SD side or MM side, where you use the system. We used to have a latest version called S4 HANA. SAP GTS also used to have a different version earlier. Now SAP also offering with latest similar lines of S4 HANA. GTS also brought up with E4H. Okay. So I will try to quickly document some of the latest version, which is ECC 6, which is like ruled the market almost some decades. Okay, the same way GTS also used to have a version called GTS 11. Okay, these are the commonly used GTS and ECC versions for some years. Okay, now S4 HANA came up with on 2015. The SAP came up with SAP S4 HANA, and 2015, then they keep upgrading year by year. Okay, and now the same way SAP GTS side also in 2020 we have a new version. This came on 2015, first version of S4 HANA. Basically they have started with simple finance, but however they have keep extending with all other modules. And SAP in the 2020 we have first version called E4H. Okay, and SAP is initially promised by 2025. Okay, they are going to be closed the support of maintenance of GTS 11, but due to the current factors they are still thinking like by when this has to be done. That means that whatever customers currently being used with GTS 11 and ECC, they need to migrate soon. Okay, so these years are little kind of a moving here and there, but the point is that we need to migrate. It is not that the maintenance gonna stop for GTS 11. What SAP also offering, saying that they also, you will not have a new latest update, latest upgrades, any issues they are not going to do with GTS 11. That is the main reason why most of the customer try to migrate to latest version. Now what is the current version is currently in the market is 2023. This is also E4H. So this is kind of a little stabilized system compared to 2020. 2020 has kind of some issues, but where in 2023 it's like almost stabilized. With now SAP is coming with 2025 E4H version for GTS side, it's like more offers, right? What kind of opportunities, like they are trying to migrate multiple T codes. Earlier you used to use a concept called transaction code or T code, right? So now we are trying to use more Fiori based apps. What is the, I hope you know what is the meaning of T code and a Fiori app. So T code means you will go to SAP system and you will enter a transaction, and system try to bring some information like, okay, VA01, the system will try to bring what need to be done. Wherein for this you need to have this GUI application. Wherein if you don't have the GUI application, you will not be able to access. But wherein Fiori is like you can access through web based. That means that it is something like this. Okay, you can simply go to open this URL with your credentials. You should be able to access all the application whatever you want. Okay, in which SAP is brought up two, majorly two types of application. One is GUI Fiori app and UI5 Fiori app. What is the GUI Fiori app? That means that they are simply copying transaction whatever you used to have in here, they simply converted into the Fiori app. Okay, so you can simply click on it and you can able to access it. That is GUI Fiori app. And there is one more type is UI5 Fiori app. What does it mean? So in that case we are kind of SAP brought all the requirement functionalities and created a new way of app. Okay, with a combination of multiple T codes in one single Fiori app with multiple features and more optimization and all. So what SAP did with 2020 version. They, I think they did not convert more. I think they are around 9 Fiori apps they brought up. Okay, with 2023 almost 19 Fiori they total 19 UI5 Fiori app SAP brought up, and remaining all converted into the GUI Fiori apps. Okay, so whatever remaining was there, they simply converted as a UI5 Fiori app. And there is also few apps was not even converted into either GUI Fiori app or UI5 Fiori app. Okay, that you still need to go and launch with your GI app, and you need to open it. But SAP, what they did is for end use purpose, they converted all the apps into either GUI apps or UI5 app. But development system like us, right, as a consultant, they may need to do some kind of activity that they still did not convert a few apps. But I think with 2025, I think they are planning to migrate all more. I mean, more. I think now it is 19. I think they are trying to bring with more number of Fiori apps as a UI5 Fiori app instead of GUI Fiori app. What is the advantage with GUI5 Fiori app is it is a new look and feel, and they are optimized whichever is not needed. You need to remember 100 different transactions. Instead, they can brought up with one single Fiori app. Okay, and when they are bringing the new Fiori app, you also have a challenges, but I think in the down the line, the apps will be more advantage to use for end user purpose. Okay, so why I brought this in if you start with any new program, you need to understand this feature, this kind of a concept. Okay, and I'm as I mentioned in the demo time that I'm also going to use GA and UI5 Fiori apps or GI Fiori apps to based on the situation, so you will get familiar with both the versions. Okay, and coming back, okay, this is the kind of a version. I think we are currently S4 was the latest version is currently market is S4 2024. Okay, and and there is no direct integration, that there is no direct link that this S4 version should be only connected to this S4 version only should be connected to this. No, but what is the point is GTS can able to accommodate any type of SAP system and non-SAP systems also. Okay, that means that I can connect one ECC system. For example, your customer spread across globally, and some countries they still stay at the ECC. Okay, maybe for example ECC 6.0. Okay, and some companies they still with 4.6. Maybe some countries with S4 HANA 2020, for example, and some more option with latest S4 HANA. Okay, for example. So we can all connect it with one single GTS. For example, you are planning to implement today, you are using GTS 11, or you are not even using it. So you can directly implement. We always recommend to use the latest -1. That means that 2025 is not at launch, so even it's launched, we will generally not ask you to recommend to go and start implementing 2025 because it may have some initial hiccups. Okay, that hiccups will unnecessarily block your development work and all. So we always try to say this. If it took some 3 to 4 months of down the line started using this version by some customer, then the issues get sorted, so we can able to start utilizing that 2025. But however, the current recommendation is 2023 version if you are planning to implement a new GTS project. Okay, and this can connect with multiple FADA systems. Okay, I can connect n number of FADA systems with one GTS as a box. As this is one of the main reason why SAP is brought this concept of separate GTS as a box. Okay, this is the main reason why you need to have a separate GTS box, so you can able to connect this, and even if you want to connect MDG system, okay, and you want to connect non SAP systems, so you can do all those things with this feature. Okay, so hence we are gonna first talk about communication strategy. Okay, what is a communication? So as I mentioned yesterday, we always, at least for the training purpose, we took two different clients. One is S4 HANA client 2023 and GTS E4H 2023. So these are the versions what we are currently using it. Okay, so S4 HANA is generally, I call it as sometime feeder system or S4 HANA system, or you should remember these all we call feeder systems. Okay, and this is our GTS system. Okay, communication. How do we transfer the data between this to this? As we discussed yesterday, if I ask you, what is the communication method will be used between ECC systems or S4 HANA systems with GTS?
RFC.
RFC. Very good. And do we have any separations with S4 HANA other components like TM?
Yes, for that we have web services.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So we are using two different communication methods at this point in time for SAP systems. If all other systems will be trying to connect with RFC as a methodology to transfer the data, wherein if you are trying to use SAP TM as a system, we use web services. Let's focus for now as a RFC as a priority. Then we will go to the next ones as and when we reach to there. So when I say RFC, so this is my one of the feeder system. S4 HANA system. This is S4 HANA system, and RFC communication. See, whatever I'm trying to explain here, it may not be required you to perform, but you need to understand how it works. Okay. SM, what we need to communicate with the basis team. Basis team has to establish. Okay. They need to first create a RFC connection to my target system. What is my target system in this case? If I go back to this as a GTS system, this is a kind of a normal strategy will be used any project. Okay, my system ID says S20. Okay, S20 is my GTS system, and what is my client is 100. So how my system name will be appears S20 CLNT 100. This is a normal. I mean, Kumar, is it only way to communicate, or is it only way to do it? No, you can keep anywhere, but this is the practice will be used across the market. I don't see people use any way other way around, but this is one of the standard way to use. Even SAP is recommending to do that. So what we are saying, first check is RFC communication. Okay, by using transaction is SM59. So what we did, we try to create RFC from P23 500 CLNT 500 is my client of S4 HANA to target system of S20 is CLNT 100. This is my target client. This is my target client, and this is my my previous client, which is, let me copy, P23 CLNT 500. So the communication will happen between this to this. Okay, what does it mean? Now we will go to SM59. So here we will mention, okay, what is my target system? S23. Okay, what is the logical login system? So why I'm showing this? What are the issues may happen while your initial setup, the data might not be transferred. This could be the probable reasons are the user ID, whatever they are creating here, right? This is my user ID. Okay, this user ID has to be available in the target site. Okay, which is what is my target site is GTS system. Okay, GTS system target site. If I want to see the user ID, whether I have this, let's do one. I think this user, I mean, I don't have this access, but yeah, I mean, I will get this, but I think this RFC admin user ID is available in GTS side. Okay, then only by using this RFC destination, I can able to communicate my information from P23 to S20 client. Okay, so this all will be done by basis team, but what you need to make sure is while you are preparing this RFC, you also need to be able to see, do I have any issues? Okay, in order to check the issues, what you can do is you need to use a transaction called SU53. Okay, Naveen, I think I need these accesses. Can you help me quickly? So if I want to see if I'm trying to transfer the data from S4HANA to GTS. Okay, and while I'm trying to transfer, I'm unable to perform some certain activities. Okay, then what I can do, the data will be always, even you create a data in P23 system, which is our feeder system, the data will be always transferred through this. That means that you may not have access to do lot many activities in GTS, but you need to have this user ID should have a proper access. Why are we doing that? The reason behind is, for example, if you remember, yesterday we talked about we will transfer the sales order, we transfer the purchase order, we transfer the delivery, we transfer lot many information. So this will be get created by respective modules, right? For example, end user of salesperson will be created sales order. Purchase user will create a purchase order. Do they really have access to GTS? No, they may not even have access to GTS. And even they have access, they may not have access to create certain transactions in GTS. So hence SAP is providing an opportunity to use RFC user ID, which will have a good amount of access. So whenever you create a data in S4HANA system, automatically by using this RFC system, we will be able to transfer the data. Why I asked to check in SU53, maybe while you're transferring the data, if this user ID, this will kindly, I mean, this will happen at the initial phase of your project at the time of development, but you need to know, because when you start involving the development activity, you need to make sure you should have all the access, because you cannot ask security to create a RFC user with SAP or full access. No, that is not how it should work. They will give some kind of access. However, while you are doing some other transactions, they still identify some issues and they need to fix it. Okay, this is the first step. Okay, this generally will happen with basis as a person, but however, you need to know that if the RFC connection was not established, you need to ask them to check. Or if any authorization issues, you need to reach out to security team. Security, I could see the RFC user ID, RFC ADME does not have access. This is my user ID. By default, SU53, if I use transaction called SU53, by default, system will open mine. Okay. But once I start, if I mean, I don't have access, but I will get that soon. But once I get the access, I should be able to see RFC user ID related access also. Okay. Is it clear? This is just first step in our communication. Any questions?
Kumar, I have
Mhm.
this is like we are connecting the system, but we will be going like for SO transfer or purchase order transfer data and all. We will have some
Mhm.
different thing, right? For that
Mhm. Mhm.
to
That's
transfer
correct.
data, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that
That we are going to go in it. Okay. So
okay.
we are first trying to say that how the systems connected. For example, today you have this, for example, you have started with development. Okay. So you will have one development S4HANA system, you will have one development GTS system. But once you are moving to the quality, you will have one quality system. They also will have one quality. Or they will still use the same quality. So how you will communicate? That means that I can communicate, for example, right, P23. So there's a three different projects are going on. All project, we are not planning to utilize multiple GTS systems. Okay, we are planning to use single GTS system. So I can do this. I don't need to worry about to create multiple systems. I can simply say that, okay, add this connectivity also to my GTS system.
And
Okay.
one more
Mhm.
question, like this GTS 11 and E4H, we will have
Mhm.
both access, right? Both system access
Correct. GTS 11.
and E4H because right
So
now you are
this
showing
is a
E4H.
E4 GTS 11 is a older version, like how you have GTS ECC6.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
equivalent to ECC6. I mean, earlier how you used to have ECC6, right? As a S4 side. Okay.
correct.
And the similar way, GTS side also we have a older version called GTS 11. But
Correct.
now most of the companies are start using GTS E4H, like how you
But
are using S4 HANA.
you mentioned like you will be showing like both the flavors like GUI as well as E4H.
No.
So what is
Even in E4H, you will have GUI and UI5. Okay,
okay, okay.
so this
E4H
is
only. Okay.
my, yeah, this is
Got
my, if I go back to here, I still, this is my, E4H system only. Okay. However, this is my E4H version only. If I go here, this is my E4H. I don't have access, but I think I should be able to. Yeah. If I go here, this is my E4H. See, SAP Edition for HANA version 2. Okay. With 2023 version. Okay. However, I still be able to log into GI. But what SAP is saying that for anything, okay, for anything, business can they might not really require to log into GUI. They can simply use a Fiori apps, okay, but they can use Fiori apps. But we as a developers might require some or other time accessing to GUI. That's why I'm saying that I will trying to show you both GUI and UI5.
Yeah, got it,
Not
got it.
saying
Now got it.
GTS level.
Okay, and third question, like this technical developers, like if they develop something in GTS, so
Mhm.
they are like same normal developers, or they need some
There
explicit
there is slight
expertise for GTS.
variation because as it is, I mean, they are the same developer. They are the same developer. There won't be any difference. But the point here is that most of the cases are Fury. As I mentioned, some of the Fury apps, right? For example, let me take manage block document. This manage block document is now UI5 Fury app. Okay. UI5 Fury app. That means that if I want to make some changes or if I see some issue with this app, you cannot simply find a ABAP program for this. It is little tweak. So you need to also have an understanding of Fury development. Okay, you need to have how the Fury works, what is the backend program. Because if you remember, right, early days, and if you are using early days, if I go back, for example, let me go back to any transaction. For example, this is my transaction. I should be able to simply go to here. I should be able to see what is the backend program for this. But where in Fiori you don't have that luxury. Okay, you need to have administrative understanding. What is a backend program for this? How they can be able to access it. So that kind of a knowledge you need to have if you are a developer.
Yeah, means that is technical knowledge, but function means function. There's nothing else like apart from the table,
No, nothing.
report, everything would be same. It's only table
Oh,
name will be
everything is
changed.
remains same, but only
Okay,
thing is you need to, as we are using more on a Furies, you need to
yeah,
have a Fury understanding. But if it is for example, right, even in the Fury way also, you have so let me open Fury. So the same, I mean, if you want to launch Fury app, you can use a standard transaction UI5 underscore SP, SFP, or you can also do a pin this link, okay, whatever link we are planning to use, you can simply add that URL to your web your links, then you can access directly, okay. So this is your link, I can able to directly access, or I can able to navigate by using UI to FLP, okay. For example, if I go back, recheck, okay, this is existing program. Okay, you see there's a transaction and this is my technical component name. So I can use this, or I can go back to GUI and I can use this, remain same. Okay, means I will tell you how to unblock this if you have blocked. This is not a dump, but I will tell you, I don't want to show you now, but I will gonna show if you have certain issues how you need to fix it. Okay, let's go back to communication. I don't want to
thank you.
derail, but yeah. So this is a point number one. I can connect multiple fader system. That's why I need to know what is that. Then when we have now connected to one system to another system, now we need to understand what kind of a data I need to transfer. Okay, what kind of a data? Then we need to go to concept called BD97. So what it does, it create a communication. Like for example, you created your source system and target system. You created RFC, but somewhere we need to tell from this particular system. Maybe I can see, if you remember, I have multiple RFCs. Okay, if you look at here, I have multiple RFC connections, but I should see somewhere, right, where it should go and identify the data. That will be happen here. Okay. And where I will define, this is my target system. S20 CLNT GTS is my target system. What is my feeder system is P23 CLNT 500. What I'm trying to say, for a GTS communication, P23 CLNT target system is S20 CLNT 100. And here I will try to define what is my RFC connection to be used. So as a whatever connection we created here, we will use it that here. Okay, here we will try to establish the communication between what is the feeder system to target system. Here we just created RFC. That means that we kind of purchased it. I mean, we kind of saying that, okay, I'm planning to go, so establish two destinations. Okay, but here I'm trying to say, okay, P23 CLNT 500 to S20 CLNT 100 client, and this is my RFC user ID. And I can use BAPIs, I can use dialer transaction, I can use a special methods. Okay, and why basically the special method? If you want to use kind of a custom transaction, if you remember, right, I said sales transactions or purchase transaction will happen a real-time synchronization. So in such case, you need to use the special method of this. Okay, first we talked about RFC communication. Second, we are talking about BD97. Okay, I'm trying to also document, so you can go ahead and connectivity. Okay, so here we will try to document how my GTS system works with target system. Is it clear? So here, this is my feeder system, this is my target system. What is the RFC should be used? For example, today we are using P20 CLNT 500 client. Okay, but tomorrow I'm trying to use 501 as a client. Okay, for example, then I need to create that 500 client and try to keep in that client. This is also target system. Okay, if I want to just, I will try to do a quick check, and I will try to delete this, and I will try to quickly show you how I can able to create. This will help you to understand. Okay, if I remove this communication, this is basically 80% of project. This will be handled by your GTS basis persons, not GTS person, basis person. But if you are also capable enough to handle it, you can able to get it done for yourself. And if you want to guidance from their from GTS system, GTS team, you can also provide to them, because basis team don't know which is your target system and all. Okay, you need to communicate them which is the target system. Okay, just click on here and click baddie, you will be able to see the baddie, and also mention special destination for any kind of a dialogue transactions. And if you want to do special transaction, here you will not directly have a RFC methodology, you need to identify the object. Okay, the object will be customs info. Okay, let me try to see, or let's try to find. This is the object which needs to be used, and you can also see this is basically for global trade services, GTS. Okay, and once you identify, then you need to also identify method. Okay, so the method, you will see the synchronization, as we want you want to communicate the transactions immediately, and what is your target RFC. Okay, this is how you need to create your asynchronized method for your RFC. Okay, destination. Is it clear how to be created this communication? And if you don't remember these transactions, I don't remember Kumar SM15 and all. So go to your feeder system. There is a transaction you need to remember in all your time. Okay, even you don't use it, you need to make sure you remember this transaction. This is a transaction in S4, and a similar transaction. Maybe you may not really need to use, but I would recommend to remember this transaction. Only difference between GTS and S4 is S4 SAP SLL menu underscore legal arth. This is the transaction. Okay, this is the description. Okay, and in case if the similar transaction in GTS, SAP SLL menu underscore legal. This is the difference. You need to remember this transaction, or you can just pin it this transaction in your username. Once you navigate here, go to basis settings. Okay, and here you should be able to see what is the RFC connection, how you able to create maintain your RFC destination, and how do you maintain your method calls. Okay, let me see. Okay, then what is the third one which I want to discuss is distribution model. Okay, so if you don't create this distribution model, you should not be able to transfer your change pointers. What does it mean? If you remember, yesterday I was saying all the master data will be transferred immediately. There won't be any manual intervention needed. But wherein master data, I need to transfer this on a periodic basis via batch job or something. In order to get that done, I need to enable this distribution model. And the distribution model also, what is my GTS system? Okay, what is my source system? Then here I will be able to use what is my source system, what is my target GTS system, what are the master data and transactional data has to be synced. Okay, and you no need to remember recollect all this, but if you click F4 you should be able to see if you want to transfer the supplier master, you need to use SAP SLL CREMAS. I think if you are working on any master data project, CREMAS is a object, standard object for supplier. As it is a GTS specific, it is SAP SLL is a prefix for any GTS activity. SAP SLL is comes everywhere. How do I remember? That's how you need to recollect every time. SAP SLL is always comes in a play, and this SLL is my plugin. Okay, so SAP, that's why they name it for this object is SAP SLL cremas underscore SLL. In case of debmas is for customer, SAP SLL debmas underscore SLL, and matmos is my material master, SAP SLL matmos underscore SLL. And this is for a transactional display if I want to transfer, and this is for synchronized data. If I want to I made some changes to my sales transaction, I want to get that synchronizedly happen with my GTS, hence I need to make these settings also. Okay, so here this is a last step of communication. So when I if anybody asks like, can you help me how the system communicate with GTS and S4, this is a three method what we generally use it. Okay, one is RFC communication establishment, second is method call, third one is distribution model. Okay, the transaction is BD64. If you remember, I would ask you to navigate here. If not, I also showed how you can able to navigate to here. So here we will try to document what are the messages I want to transfer. For example, tomorrow you want to also transfer bombs, you need to include bomb messages also. Okay, how do you can do that? Just click and add a message, select your system and just click add message. If you try to click add message, the system will propose. You can always say SAP SLL as your prefix. As I mentioned, any GTS data transfers SAP SLL star. If you type, so you should be able to see these many master data change pointers I can able to utilize. I can, if I want to transfer bomb, I should be able to use this. If I want to transfer contact person, I should be able to use this. And if I want to transfer prices for my product, I will use this. If I want to transfer my procurement indicator, I will use this. If I want to transfer certain different information, I can able to use all these messages. Is it clear on the communication strategy?
Yes, Kumar.
Yep. So this is the
Yes.
first step which you definitely remember. Along with this, okay, as I mentioned, the communication, what we are saying, how to build the communication between these two systems. However, as I mentioned before, I may have more than one logical system. So in the GTS side, okay, this is my GTS side of the system, okay, and here SPRO, okay, which is most of them. SPRO used to launch in order to see your configuration in SAP E4H or SAP S4HANA. New transaction SAP was introduced. called SIMG. Okay, you can use SPRO or SIMG. Any transaction, if you go to SPRO, you need to click IMG again. But if you launch SIMG, for example, then you no need to launch, you no need to click two activities. So it does the same. Okay, there's no difference. It is either use SPRO or you can use SIMG. And if you are new to SAP, then if you are in between some of the transaction, you want to launch a new T code or new transaction, you need to use \n. But if you are in a initial screen, you don't need to do that. You can directly launch this. Okay, but if you are between some transaction, you need to use that \n. However, GTS transactions, which is like SAP, as I mentioned, if you remember, SAP GTS side also we have area menu we call. This is my transaction, I said. Okay, SAP SLL menu underscore legal. If I try to click, the system will not work because it is SAP is a not standard. I mean, this is specific to GTS domain. Okay, so in such case also you need to add \n always. So that's why we always kind of habituate. By default, we keep \n or \o. You need to keep this transaction, then only system will open. If I click \o, then only my transaction will go, or \n, anything will work. The difference is if you want to open the same transaction on the same screen, you need to use \n. If you want to use a different screen, you will use \o. That's a difference. This is a standard SAP behavior. It is nothing to do with GTS specifically. Okay, and this we call area menu. Okay, if I say Ankit, can you open area menu? Or if I ask Rakesh, can you open area menu? Or if I ask Anish, can you open area menu? You should be able to open this transaction, SAP SLL menu underscore legal. This is make sure, I mean, you will get automatically remember all this, but it is mandatory to remember these two transactions. Even we are using more on queries, but most of the time we may need to use the transactions. We don't need to recollect each and every transaction within the area menu. You don't need to recollect at all. Okay, you know, for example, if I want to open SPL, it will has its own transaction. For example, if I launch this will have a separate transaction. Okay, for example, SAP SLL SPL underscore CHSALO0. You don't need to recollect. Just recollect your area menu, and from there you can able to SAP build all the required transaction in this cockpit. You don't need to go unless until a few transaction you need to explicitly launch, else you can able to use everything within this cockpit. Okay, and this is about that. And here, as I mentioned, SIMG, I will try to use SIMG, and this is the configuration node for GTS. In GTS system, this is GTS system. S20, when I open S20, this is a GTS system, and this is a configuration node where we will perform all the configuration in the same way from the S4 HANA side. Also, we need to make some kind of a configurations that will be under you navigate all the way down, go to integration with other SAP components, maximize this, and you should be able to see there's a node called integration with governance and risk compliance, and you need to able to see the GTS related configurations. Okay, if I want to do some configurations in S4, this is the node, and if I want to do configuration in GTS, this is the node. Why I need to do some configuration in GTS, sorry, S4? Because you said that everything GTS is separate box. What does really matters for us? Because, for example, right, as I mentioned yesterday or in a demo session, sometime we will create 100 different type of sales order, for example, but some only sales order are relevant for GTS or some are not. That has to be configured within S4. I don't want to reach to GTS, then okay, no, this is not relevant, go back to S4. It may take unnecessarily time waste. So SAP, what you did, SAP, they decided to make some control within S4, which is restricted unnecessary time waste for the processing of the transaction. For example, you are trying to save the sales order. At the sale, while trying to save the sales order, the system will do a call to GTS, perform the activity and come back. If in case that sales order type itself not relevant for GTS check, do you really need to call to GTS? No, there is no point. Hence, we will stop it in S4 HANA controls itself. That's why if you look at here, there's a tab called control data transfer. So this is the key for your most of the transaction. You may not use all this for most of your project, but technically you will use this. I will try to navigate one by one, but this is the configuration nodes in GTS side and S4HANA side. Any questions so far before I move forward? Okay. Silence I take as a no. Everything is clear so far. Perfect.
Kumar, you will be sending this recording as well as the Excel sheet which you are actually showing, that will be there, right? Because unless and until.
Excel, I think I can share it with you guys, but I think recording is definitely you will get it. I can definitely share this Excel with you.
Yeah, you can
But if you
share it.
want to make a notes yourself, you can do that. But I think I can also share this with you guys so you can access. But the only problem is I will not be able to share as a online copy. So as and when I'm done, maybe I will try to share it with export soft team and they will be able to place it somewhere.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
I will try to
No,
see how I can able to use this remotely
because
if there is any way.
yeah, because the reason is unless and until we navigate ourselves, right now it looks like very clear, but I'm sure once we start navigating ourselves, there will be a lot of questions.
100%. 100% you will have this. That's why if you remember I said in the day one, unless until you practice and you don't come back with your questions, I'm sure everything is good until we complete our batch. After you go to your project and if you start opening, you will have everything is just disappear from your mind. Okay, for sure. Okay, you need to make sure you need to navigate each and everything. Go to recording, go to the documents, go to system, try to practice anything. But only one request: don't don't try to delete if you feel that is not really relevant. Okay, something like communication. Okay, if you delete the communication and it may unnecessarily issue for someone else. Okay, but you can, I will tell you what are the things you can practice yourself own, but don't, some things don't even delete. Okay, or don't make any change. But if you want, go there, try to see. If you even you make change, reset back immediately. Okay, but if not, you will have a huge challenge. Again, I need to go back and try to understand what happened, try to fix it. This will create unnecessary pre-work for every day. And that is only my ask. Okay, so coming back, I will definitely try to see how we can able to get this document shared with you guys. But yes, you will get this information uh, as much as details possible. Okay, so if you practice, you don't need to really worry about this config. I mean the document, Anish. Okay, for sure I can tell you. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Second node is the basic configurations. Okay, which are the basic configuration we need. Okay, I will try to document as much as possible so it will be easy for you to look at. Okay, this is S4 side configuration node and this is a GTS side configuration node. Okay, so what is the configuration? Minimum configurations are needed as part of a basis set, minimum basic settings. Okay, go to S4. Okay, this is my S4 setting. So here, if you look at, okay, some of the things saying that activate transfer purchase document, activate, and it seems like not a configuration node, and it says that some customization of a body implementation. What does it mean? For example, you have initially received a system from your customer. By default, it will be deactivated state. That means that if you click here, it says that do you want to activate? Okay, that means if it says that do you want to deactivate, that means that the body is already active. Okay, and if it says deactivated, that means that, I mean, if it says deactivated, that means that the badge is already active. And if you see anything is deactive active state, okay, let me say I think everything is active. So if I see anything is inactive, that means that that particular information will not be transferred to GTS. What kind of information? You can directly look at here. So this basically body is relevant for purchase documents, any purchase contract, purchase orders, okay, any such information. This is for inbound delivery document, this is for material documents, and this is for sales order, and this is for outbound delivery, this is for billing document. Unless until you activate these baddies, those certain document transaction will not be transferred. For example, if I deactivate this particular baddie, I will not be able to transfer any S4 sales orders or any type of orders to GTS. So this is a one-time activity. We will try to activate whatever is needed. So I would definitely say that you activate all. There is no harm of activating. But some customer, they say that I don't want to screen complete my purchase flow. This is a single tick mark. You just go here, deactivate it automatically. All your purchase will be not relevant for your GTS screening. For some reason, they decided only sales they want to activate GTS, not the purchase. You don't want to go in detail what transaction and all. No, this is the first step of activation to GTS. By default, if you look at, as I mentioned, deactivated, do you want to deactivate it means it is already active. You don't do any change. Okay. Then the second important configuration, once you activated those 6 objectives, okay, then the system will go to the next stage of activation. Okay, this is at baddie activations, and that means that basically at object level activation will happen at this level. Okay, based on the transaction what you want. But once you activate baddies, means object level activation, now you will come back inside the detail, means you have activated, unless until you activate these baddies, you will not be able to see. It is taking some time. Yeah, you will not be able to see certain information here. For example, let me deactivate for a second. Okay, but I would like you guys to say don't deactivate anything. It's taking some time, but come on. So basically what I'm trying to say, if you don't want to activate any kind of objective, you deactivate it here. So, but as I request, don't make any changes to these 6 objects. Okay. Then if you go here, you will not be able to see certain information for that particular object in the subsequent nodes. That means that you no need to do document level controls. Okay, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think I need to restart this, but technically once you activate, system will automatically propose that information. See, if you now see, do you want to activate this baddie? Yes. Okay, we want to activate this. So automatically the respective configuration will come and start working. Now, once we have created these activated, okay, and go here and go to the document type level, what does it mean? So I have created 100 different types of sales orders. And as I here remember, just for now, remember that there's a sales process and there are multiple different type of sales being used by your customer. Maybe one is sales order, one is maybe returns, one maybe some kind of a special sales orders and all. They have created multiple different types of sales order. Then you need to activate only one specific sales order for your GTS screening. That you will come and update it here. What does it mean? For example, this Jaguar itself not there, but yeah, technically, let me go back. Somebody's deleted this order. Okay, this is a sales order, standard sales order, and I have activated this for my complaints management. If you remember, what is the complaints management contains? SPL, embargo, and legal control. I'm going to talk about in detail for them, but for now, just focus on those 3 activity. If I want to make it active, I need to indicate here. And if I want to transfer this risk management, which I need to activate it here. And what does this means? While I have any issue, okay, I have a block, okay, I have issue, then I want to have a pop-up. Okay, there's a dialog should come with my error message. Okay, that will be controlled here. Okay, and if the system is down, okay, if the GTS system is down, what should happen? Whether do I need to perform some kind of a follow-up process should be allowed, or should be follow-up process should be blocked? That means that, see, you have a S4 and GTS. However, due to some basis issue, GTS system is down. So what should happen? So that will be controlled here. And while you're creating a sales order, you have a GTS block. And what should happen? That pop up. Okay. And I'm not going to talk these now, but we'll talk little later. Okay. I don't want to confuse you much. For now, just remember this. Along with that, earlier, if you're using ECC system or some other system, you don't have an option called document type and slash company code. What does it mean? Even I can able to control my GTS settings exclusively under company code level also. I can activate one company code with compliance management and another I can exclude it. Okay, even I activated GOR. However, I want this GOR only for certain company code, not for all other company codes in my system. That also I can able to handle it here. If I don't maintain anything, I can directly change the setting to document type level. If I change document type level, system will not go down. If I set document type level by company code level, system will go and check what is my company code in my transaction and what is the company code here maintained. Based on that, system will start reacting your process. For example, you try to create a new sales, a new company code. Here you need to activate whether that company code required a compliance screening or not. Is it clear? The similar setting we will do for each and every transaction. And e as I mentioned, other transaction, when you go to the purchase, you will have the similar way. Okay, whether the sales transaction, whether the NB is my purchase transaction, but you have in case of only in case of MM0A application layer level, which is a purchase document, you will have one extra character will be get it assigned automatically, and I will tell you the reason also. Okay, and if you see earlier, I don't have any prefix when I open SD0A. Let me go back and open SD0A. I don't have, these are the direct my transaction types. If it's OR, TA or WK1, ZOR, ZOR or ZOS. Okay, but if I go to the my purchase transaction, I'm getting a message saying that there is a prefix code was assigned F. What does it mean? If you work on SAP MM, okay, then you will easily understand, but even I will try to explain. So there is a concept called category. Okay, F means purchase, K means contracts. Okay, like that you will have a different. Let me try to show you. Hmm. For example, right, there's a concept called purchase document number, document category. So these are the categories. Okay, A means quotation, P means F means purchase order, K means contract, L means schedule lines. If you use R means RFQ, request for quotation, and these are the different type. And SAP did not restrict. I can use NB. That doesn't matter that NB is only available under here. It can be available here. It can be available here. Anywhere it can be available. That's why what SAP decided, okay, while I'm configuring GTS, I need to define whether it is a purchase order or a request for quotation or a contract document. For example, if I'm using a contract document type, okay, for example, AB is my contract type in purchase side. I need to use KAB. If not, system will not detect. Is it clear? No one in the training, they will understand, they will explain what is the meaning and why we will use this F. They will say when the purchase document types comes, they will simply say just put F in prefix. The reason is this is of a category of your purchase document type. F means your purchase order type category. So NB is my document type, FNB. Because NB, if you go here, right, I can have NB type in both contracts and purchase orders. Okay, I'm not sure this system has that information or not, but technically, let's see. Predominantly, I have only Fs, but I can also have A also. Okay, I can have a contracts also, but here in this test system. But if you open your customer systems, you should be able to see you will have same document type will be used across the document categories. That's why while you are configuring GTS, you need to make sure at especially for MM0A, you need to make sure the purchase document category also you need to prefix along with your document type. and the remaining is same. Okay, you just click, and again we are saying whether this is a document type level and company code level. I have document type level, whether this is active for compliance, whether this is active for customs, whether this is active for risk. And this we discussed, and we'll talk about this bit later. But I think what we are trying to say is, if I have a purchase block, I want to prevent outputs being processed from my purchase order. If I activate this tick mark, if I have a purchase order, the system will block outputs to be processed from my purchase order. Means I will not be able to generate any confirmation output or something. And this is related to risk management. I'm going to talk little later when we are talking about risk. Okay, for now remember only these. And this is the three module which always talks about compliance management, customs management, risk management. If you remember SD0A and MM0A, there is a slight difference. SD0A, you don't see customs management, if you remember, because while as it is a first time for you, you may not able to recollect, but I will try to tell you, like SD0A, if you go here, let me delete. You have only compliance management and risk management. That mean that SD0A is only basically SD0A is basically for sales process. Okay, will be used the control. Okay, we will use compliance process and preference. Instead of risk, I will always try to write preference. Okay, then MM0A, I can use purchase. Okay, compliance, risk, and customs management also. The meaning is, these transactions technically we will not, sales order will not use it for customs purpose. We will use delivery document is for customs purpose. That's why SAP did not even provide option to activate or deactivate. SAP was like too much matured, like what transaction you will not even use it, then you will not even provide options to activate, deactivate. Let me go back to, let me delete this. I don't know, somebody is created unnecessarily, it's causing the issue. Okay. Okay, then let's go to SD0B. SD0B basically for delivery. If you go here, you again see compliance and risk management. Okay. That means that we are not gonna use delivery document directly for our customs processing. Only we will use only these two operations with delivery documents. Again, you will have a different, this control we just talked about, and this like whether you want to flag okay, prevent goods issue for outbound delivery. Means if you have any delivery document screened for GTS and blocked for complaints or any other activity, we are asking to block it to perform goods issue document. You should not able to allow you to issue your goods if you have a compliance issue. We can able to control with this. I'm skipping a few settings which we will gonna discuss later, because it will be easy when I'm discussing at certain point. Now if I open billing document, this is a key. Basically I will not have any other controls like customs, sorry, compliance. You don't have any complaints, you will only have customs and risk management or preference management. That's the difference. Okay, it's okay. And the same way MM0B is relevant for all three. Okay, basically we will use complaints, customs management. We will not gonna use preference basically. Okay, IBD will use, and the similar settings. Okay, and this we are gonna talk when I'm talking about a customs on more. And if I go back to here, and here, this is a movement document. It is not a goods receipt. We are talking about our billing, our vendor invoice, SAP GTS control based on application level MM0C, which is material document. When you perform a goods receipt, okay, you are receiving some goods. When you perform a goods receipt as a process, the system will be perform the movement type. Based on the movement type, we are able to controlling whether See, if you don't, if you see the similar way for SD0C, we will not perform material document, and we will not perform any complaints. We'll perform preference management and customs management. So this is the basic settings we will follow for the documents. Okay, SAP by default offering what need to be done. You no need to, in case if you create a sales order, you no need to worry about customs operation. If you create a delivery, you no need to worry about customs processing. If you go to the billing document, you no need to worry about complaints. I will give you the reasoning, right, why SAP is doing that. But when we will perform the billing, by the time of billing perform, you already issued the document. That what is the point of performing a compliance check at that point in time? There is no point. You cannot do, or even if you're doing it, there's no point of performing compliance check. That's why SAP is removed compliance check at the time of billing document. Even if you want that, you need to enhance your functionality. And I think I don't see any customer would ask that. But there is one more enhancement, but there is not enhancement. This kind of add-on, we will not perform a complaint screening for billing document, but we will perform a complaint screening for accounting document. For example, after invoicing document, you should be able to perform a complaints document. With that, I will try to show you how you can able to FI 0. Okay, this is the one of the application area. This we call application area. This is document. This is a services. What kind of services activate each application level. Okay, this is not available. It's not a basic configuration, but I will try to show you where you can able to do that. Okay, if you go to finance, and general ledger accounting, I think somewhere here. Account receivables. I will try to find, I think. Yeah, this. This is quite often, okay, not all customer will try to use it, but there's a if you want to activate under finance, finance finance account globally, check GTS settings. Okay, if you can activate this baddie, like same way whatever we activated for MM0 SD0, right, the same way we can also activate this baddie. So what will happen once you activate this baddie, system will start checking for your accounting entries also, if you want to activate. But I mean, this is very often, quite often, people will request this kind of a screening. Okay, this is the basic settings from the S4 HANA side. Minimum basic settings what you need to perform. Okay, then once your controls are activated, there is a two more activities which we are going to talk about little later when I'm talking about EWM related configurations, and this is related to preference. I'm going to talk about that point in time. I'm not going to talk now. Okay, now switch to GTS. Okay, GTS side. Do we have any questions so far before I switch to GTS configurations?
Kumar. So Kumar, this activity, whatever you were showing, so this is like when we are having this system configured initially, initial
Correct.
phase of implementation
Project.
project. Then
Correct.
as a GTS functional consultant, this is what we configure one time, right? It's not daily or sometimes get request.
Yeah, that is true. For example, right, why I was talking more on this, because for example, your sales team created I mean, you have initially determined, okay, some of the things and you have started configuring. But while you are testing, they recollect they need to create a new document type, or new movement type, or new inbound delivery document type, or they want to change something. Then you need to come and activate it. But these baddies are one time, okay. But this control setting, you need to keep making changes as and when until you go live. Even with the post go live, issues still keep coming in. Yes, it is kind of a one-time setup. All configurations are one-time setup, if you ask me that. Okay, but you may need to go inside and try to change. Sometimes, right, what will happen? You initially determine, as per your customer requirement, any JADWO or sales order type has to be screened for GTS. Okay, that is the initial requirement. But what happened later in point in time, they came up with a new company code. Mr. Ankit, I don't want this company code should be screened for GTS. Then you need to move all your company. You need to start making the change of existing configuration from the document type alone to document type company code. And you need to activate all other company code with active and that particular company code as deactive. This is how you need to understand what kind of a configuration, how it is influence your GTS system. Clear?
Yes, yes, Kumar. And regarding this
Yeah.
purchase thing, so accept purchase order if we are having some um, quotation or something. So do we get such requests like we are giving document like
Not
along with
really. I
the
mean, as I mentioned, right? Sometimes we will get it. Okay. Sometime, I mean, I didn't remember we have done anywhere in the quotation or inquiry, but we did screen of schedule lines. We did screen for contracts. So there is a possibility that we may need to do it. If you, even if you look at here, right? This is one of the kind of a type which is used for WK1, right? WK1 is something like for contracts, sales contracts, if I remember correctly. Yeah, value contract. This is a value contract system. So you can do it. I mean, there is no harm, but it is up to your business model to business model. Okay, if you are using some kind of a customer who doesn't even create any contract, they will only create sales orders and process. Then there is no point of contract. But if your customer using contracts more than sales orders, then you need to screen contracts. Okay, that's how you need to determine.
okay,
Clear?
thank you, Kumar.
Yeah. Coming back to GTS side of configuration, as I mentioned, communication is one of the key from S4 HANA side, which we talked about here. But at the same time, we also need to make changes for communication in GTS side as well. Let me reduce so I can able to. Okay, this is S4 HANA side, and this is now I'm gonna talk about. Okay, now I'm going to make similar communication settings from the GTS side as well. Okay, so what is the first strategy? Go to configuration, okay, and go to this. All will be basically done by your GTS person. However, you need to know your basis person. However, you need to know. So define a logical system. They will define logical systems for your what are the fader systems, what are the GTS system you may require. Okay, because if you don't tell the person of your basis person there is a one S4 HANA system I need to connect with GTS, then he will not create P23 CLNT client as a logical system here. He will only create S20 CLNT 100 only. You need to communicate that. Okay, I have a S4 HANA system and I'm also communicating with the GTS. Then he will create these systems. Then this is a first step of logical system definition. Okay, then once the logical systems are created, then we will assign this logical system to the our SID. Okay, if you remember, right, our client is 100, and as I mentioned, from the systematic point of view, system know yes 20 is my ID and 100 is a client. But whatever we kept in intermediately, this is to know the system. Okay, we need to somewhere map 100 client, S20 is my system, S20 CLNT is your kind of a logical system name. Okay, this is also will be done by basis, but I think we need to articulate, or we need to kind of validate whether the assignment is done or not. Okay, and see, wherein if you are doing S4 side of work, right? So basis is working these kind of projects year by year. You no need to really worry about it. Wherein GTS is only for you, only one single module. So you are a whole and sole responsibility. Even you need to coordinate with all the respective other modules also. Okay, then this is the one of the basic basis configuration exclusively for a GTS kind of a system. Okay, what is that mean? For example, if you take this an example, right, you have a 4 different logical systems. Okay, and you also have another system called for example, let's take another system called ECC CLNT 100. Okay, these all are S4 HANA system, and this is ECC system. For example, this is S4, this is S4, and this is S4 HANA system, but this is ECC system, for example. So what we can do is you can group all these systems in one group, and you can create this is another group. What is the advantage with this group? So once you start creating one group, if tomorrow you have a new system comes in, a new logical system comes in, you no need to perform all the activity. You just assign this existing logical system group with a new logical system entry. That's it. Rest all configuration will start working. I will try to show you. This is a logical system group. Okay, I have created one group for FADA system, one group for GTS system. Means I'm gonna assign all my GTS systems to this group, all S4 FADA systems to this group. Okay, and next step is assignment. So what does it mean? P23 CLNT 500 I assign to FADA system, S20 CLNT 100 to my GTS system. I will gonna tell why we will do this, but just ignore for now. But for now, just focus only P23 CLNT 500. Tomorrow, if I have P23 CLNT, why I have 0 here? So P23 CLNT 500, 501, 503, 504, all these clients are there. Okay, if I have additional clients, just create a new entry, copy this, and create that 501 and assign to the same group. So remaining all GTS configurations start working. Means you no need to perform any additional changes. One simple, if you have a new client, you no need to rework everything. No, you no need to do that. You just go and create a new configuration entry. The system will start working the same way like what you did for Phison. For example, you have a different client, as I mentioned, ECC. Then you have a ECC group separately. So why do you do that? For example, if you are using the same S4 HANA, so the number ranges or some kind of a document will have its own identity. But where in ECC, it may have a different identity. In such cases, we always recommend to create separate groupings. Okay, for S4 is one group in ECC, but as per your customer, even it's S4 or GTS, you can use the same group. Then we can map everything to one group. It is so simple. You don't need to do two configuration differently. But what if you, as a consultant of GTS, you need to recollect, even customer say, no, I don't have any difference. Simply create both in one group. But then you need to ask, does this mean there is a sales order called OR? Okay, in your S4 HANA system, is in OR in GTS in ECC system is same or not? What if this S4 HANA OR sales document type and ECC OR sales document type are not equal? They want this GTS screening and this they don't want GTS screening. We cannot control, because if you keep both in one simple group, you can't handle same document type in two different ways. In such cases, you need to, when you have this kind of initial phase of your project, you need to 100% spend good amount of time to understand from the customer point of view. They feel, oh, why we are spending this much of time? I said no, go and create. But you need to make sure, as a GTS consultant, you should also not just say, I just gave a hypothetical scenario, but you need to ask, is the number ranges are are not contradicting each other? Is the sales order types are not contradicting each other? Is the delivery document types are not contradicting each other? You need to make sure. If you see any simple one, then I would ask them to create a separate groups. What will happen if you have a separate group? Your work will be increased. So you need to plan your work accordingly. So that's why I said, as part of your initial phase of work, you need to make sure understand all these factors in order to determine how much resources you really want. This will come as an when you grow your GTS career upper, but I think this also you need to make sure keep it in mind. Okay, that's the advantage of being using a groups. Okay, this is third basic. Fourth one is assignment this faded system group to faded systems, and here faded system group creation. Okay, then once these are the minimum 4 configurations are needed. Okay, and just ignore these two, we'll talk about later, but for now you remember till here. Unless until you create this logical system group, you don't assign, even you try to transfer the data, system keep failing it. The system will unable to determine. Even you have RFCs, you have distribution model, everything will send from the S4 HANA system, but it will not able to reach to GTS system. So initial phase, if you don't make all the setups, you will struggle a lot. That's why I'm spending almost 1.5 hours to explain this, because if you're able to set up your communication strong, automatically rest all will work without any challenges. Okay, don't think I haven't even reached one single sales order screening or one master data. Okay, that will happen very quickly. You don't worry. Okay, I will make sure you will understand. But these are the key points to understand. If you don't understand these, later point in time, you will not be able to follow what we are really talking about it. And as I mentioned, why I create a GTS as a group, we'll talk about later. I will definitely talk about it because that is one of the key topic. Okay, now we are now able to talk about communication strategy in the GTS side, communication strategy of S4 side. Then we were now good. Now the important aspect is organizational structure, which is the third topic of mine. Do you, anybody remember what is the organizational structure equivalent to company code in GTS? Do you remember our equivalent organizational structure for company code or plant in GTS? Okay, let me talk. So in any organizational structure in S4 HANA, can you somebody name out what are the organizational structure we keep hearing from the any module? Team, hope you can hear me.
Yes, Kumar.
What is some of, can you tell me what are the some of the organizational structure?
Company code, plant, and or sales or like this. Kumar.
Yeah, that's correct. In S4, company code, plant,
Sales or
sales or
division.
division, distribution channel, and so on.
F in you mentioned yesterday. I think F you federal something.
Correct. Okay. And shipping point.
Sales
Okay, if you are
office.
not SAP person, maybe it is a little new, but these are the org structures. What does it mean? Organizational structure means you have to have this information. For example, you have a company in your country. So for example, you have a company in Germany. Okay, you should have a company code in SAP, and you should have a plant. Means you have a physical location in your premises, and you have an organization who take care of all the sales. All these things will be available in your S4 HANA system. And the GTS side also, we will also use some of the organizational structure information. Okay, we will also have a storage location. Okay, so these are the some of the org elements which we will probably use it for quite some time. Okay, so in the GTS side, company code E equivalent to FTO. Okay, we call foreign trade organization or FTO. Okay, and the plant we call legal unit or we call LU. Okay, we will not use sales. These all 4 points. Technically, we will not use that extensively, but in 1 or 2 cases we will use. But I will gonna talk about it. And storage location also we can use as a legal unit in GTS. Okay, you need to 100% remember this organizational structure. That means that one company code. Okay, company code is ZSAM is my company code, can be assigned to one FTO. Okay, see, this is my S4 HANA company code as a ID, and this is a GTS as a FTO as an ID. Now we gonna understand. Okay, I think we have this information here. I will try to talk about a few. Okay. Okay, I will use this. Okay, this is some of the org elements which I'm trying to use. As I mentioned, org, order to cash flow, how system will work. Okay, and you start receiving a order from your customer, and you will fill the order, means by using some of the information. Then you will ship the goods to customer. Then you will create a billing document. Then you will receive the payment. Okay, I mean, then you will record the payment, and again the cycle will keep happening. This is the sales flow of your process. Means you create a sales order, and you will create complete all your sales information. Then you will create a delivery document, and you will create your billing document, and you will create a accounting document, or you will complete this accounting document with your finance accounting persons. This is how the sales will work. But if you go to the purchasing flow, and again you will determine purchase requisition will start. Purchase supplier will send a purchase requisition. Okay, this is my product, and this much I can able to sell this particular product to you, and we will request quotation. Okay, we will ask, okay, give me this so and so information, I want a quotation. Then we will convert that into the purchase order. Then we will convert that, we will receive the goods, and we will pay the goods to the payments to the supplier, and we determine the service, if there is any services we are receiving from the supplier. Okay, so this cycle again flow in and out. In our whole flow, we will try to see a purchase requisition gets created, quotation gets created, a PO document gets created, inbound delivery gets created, and invoice document will be get created, and a moment material document gets posted. So this is the flow of purchase. Okay, this is the sales flow, and this is a purchase flow. And comes to here, because I don't want to talk all these org elements, but some of the org elements company is gonna assign to company code, and this company code will be assigned with lot many financial attributes like finance management area, control area. The warehouse things will be get assigned with company code. Warehouse gets assigned to company code. Plant will be get assigned to the plant, and sales organization will be assigned to company code. The sales organization will be assigned with sales distribution and division, and you will also have a concept called sales office and sales group and sales area, and this all will be again assigned with your control area. So you don't need to worry much on this. This is how the sales org structure basically works. And if you go to the purchase org structure, if you look at, client will be assigned with company code, and this company code will be assigned with multiple plants, and plant will have its own storage location, and again this plant will have assignment of purchase org, a purchase organization who take care of purchase, like how you have sales as a key here, and purchase organization is key here, and this purchase organization will have its own purchasing groups. So this is the flow of this is the flow of SD. Okay, at a high level. Okay, and as I mentioned, we don't need to much worry about it. Okay, but we need to make sure understand, okay, how some of the, I mean, we'll share this PPT document to you, like how this JDS will basically offer it. It will try to help you to handle your tariffs. It will handle your imports. It will handle your cost. Get some kind of a benefits. It will try to handle your customs. It try to handle your freight operations. It try to create some documentation. It handles insurance, exchange rate, country of origin, local laws, and price information, and all those globalization and outsourcing activities. It can perform these many activities with the GTS as a system. Okay, and this is the some of the terminology we will use, but let's go some of the challenges why we need to use international trade with the GTS as a system. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about this. This is to avoid security risk, national laws, embargoes, avoiding performing activities with blocked customer. And if you want to follow certain rules, SAP GTS will be able to achieve by doing all these activities. Okay, and this is one of the way how you can able to document. For example, you have a company here, for example, this is are your mandate companies, and you need to follow what are the legal regulations need to be followed if you want to do activity with Swiss, and if you want to do with UK, or if you want to do with Switzerland, or if you want to do activity with US, if you want to do with some other countries, what are the systems? This is a kind of a high level overview of how GTS works. Okay, and so you can go through all this high level document and whatever we talked about at a high level. What are the services offering under compliance management and sanctions party list screening? We talked about embargo, we talked about legal control. We are gonna talk each and every module almost 2 to 3 sessions. Okay, don't worry, but just remember this information. And then risk management, now we are not gonna use a letter of credit anymore. So but earlier it was part of this, now it is appearing, it's only a free trade preference management is only module. So then customs is another important aspect where we will try to do lot many customs activities. Okay, so this is at high level at the demo document, but I'm not going to use the PPT or anything. I'll either use SAP system or the Excel document, so to try to document as much as possible. Okay, so the point here is that company is at why we use a company code is equivalent to foreign trade organization, because company code level only all the rules, right? Whether this company should be available in certain one country, and it should follow that company rules, that country rules, all those things at company code level only. Okay, that's why that foreign trade rules also can be adapted at company code level. That's why SAP decided to map these two objects. The same way the plant, for example, see, same as my plant code, this is a company code, for example, and this is my plant code. GSM is my plant code, and this I will try to use another object called lu underscore GSM. So there's a difference, right? And these are like org elements which will be available in the configuration node, but in GTS system everything is a business partner. We will create like a business partner, and we will try to assign with my company code of GSAM is equivalent to my FTO same GSAM. Okay, let me quickly go back to the doc configuration so you will understand what I'm trying to talk about it. If I go to, just go back to my general settings. Okay, and I'm sweeping, I mean I'm skipping a few items. Okay, that don't worry, we come back and try to document it here. So if I want to create a new foreign trade organization, I can go it here, click define a foreign trade organization, or I can also launch a direct transaction called a /OBP, because I use backslash because I don't want to close the screen. Okay, then I can click F organization as an element, and I can create, because it is easy if I keep the FTO as a prefix, and I can keep whatever company code I want. Okay, and how system will recollect if I create as a business partner, how system will understand this business partner as a FTO. I need to able to choose, there is a BP roles. Okay, standard SAP offering BP roles is called SLL FTO. If I select this BP role only, system will understand this FTO underscore SAM as a business partner is FTO. So if I want to create any FTO, the BP role should be, this is so important, okay? FTO. If you try to create SLL something else, system will not be able to recollect this ID, business partner ID, as FTO. Okay, and the same way, right, if I want to create a legal unit which is equivalent to my plant, I will prefix LU. Kumar, is it only way that I should only use LU or FTO? It's up to you, but it is easy if you use these kind of attributes in a regular operation. You can easily recollect, but some people also call LEG differently, but it is a standard, I mean, SAP recommended option. Use FTO as FTO, RFT, or whatever you want. Just keep even at least F star and L as a prefix. So it is easy for you to understand because all are business partners, right? So it is easy. And if it's a LU, what should be your BP role? There is a BP role called SLL SIT. Okay. If it's a BP role of SLL SIT, then the system will recollect these business partners are respective org elements. Okay, I will go here, and if you look at here, right, and okay, here I will assign. If you remember, I was talking about feeder system groups. Okay, I didn't say that feeder system, don't create a feeder system while talking about communication, right? I was talking about you need to create a feeder system as an element and create that group into the group, right? And that feeder system into group. So if you don't use that, will it work? Yes, it will work. But SAP is default recommendation always to, even you have one feeder system today. Okay, even you have one feeder system today, but we would always ask you to create a group and do a configuration at this level. Assign company code at feeder system group level. That means that today, if you perform a group level configuration, tomorrow, if you have any new feeder system, automatically you can simply add it. If you don't do that, you need to perform for each and every feeder system all the configuration. Whatever configuration is needed, you need to do for every time. So it is always recommending to create a feeder system in the communication, assign your feeder system to feeder system group, and make configuration set company, I mean, all the configuration at feeder system group level. So what are we trying to do here in the first configuration? We use a feeder system group. If you remember, FEED, RE, CRP is my feeder system group for my S4, and this is my company code ID in which is coming from my S4 HANA system, and this is my feeder system, sorry, GTS system FTOs. So for example, they created like this. If I try to create something without the role, I will not be able. For example, let me open one of the existing BP and I will show you this particular BP will definitely have a role of SLL. No, let me not save this. If you look at the SLL FTO as a BP role is extended to this particular BP, then only it will be visible here. Is it clear? So even, I mean, this is also one of the interview question. Why do I need to do configuration at feeder system group level? Instead, why can't I do at feeder system? You can do feeder system level also, but the advantage by being used SAP offer a standard recommendation to use at group level is if I want to assign new group tomorrow, new feeder system, okay, in between of my project, I can simply add and just make configuration here. This one simple config, create a new logical system and assign it here. That's it, done. If you don't do that, you need to do it for each and every feeder system. For example, if you click here, right, it will propose logic. I mean, it is, nobody is doing it, but I think here it will show logical system, not logical system group. You will see the logical systems. Okay, but if you do it this way, you need to do it for each and every logical systems. This is also some of the important questions to understand from the interview point of view. And the same way, define a legal unit. So you can navigate it here, or you can directly use backslash as a transaction. But only point is, if you want to assign logical system, here also we will do it with, one second, here at a group level, assign plan to feeder system group level, and the feeder system always select manually So feeder system, and what is a plant name, what is a your legal system, logical unit. Okay, and see, there is no limitation. You need to use only LU underscore. You can use anything, but the main role is that you need to select the right role. Okay, if I open this LU as a business partner screen, I will not have SLL FTO. I will have SLL SIT as a role because this is a legal unit. Is it clear so far? Then, like how you generally use plant and company code, if you remember, right? We will assign company code to plant. Here also we need to assign legal unit to FTO. Means which are the legal units are belongs to your FTO. Means which are the plants. It's like you no need to deviate or you no need to identify something. You go to S4, ask, can you give me assignment of your plants to company code? You follow the same here. Whatever company code are relevant for your GTS. Are you guys able to follow so far?
Yes, Kumar.
We will first create FTO, then create LU, then we'll assign LU to FTO. Okay, these are the three major important configuration you need to perform. Once this is done, okay, we are done now. We will quickly, I mean, because in every day as a trainee, you will expect that, okay, we are doing all this, how it all reflects, where it will all see in the system. I want to show you that. Okay, for example, I have created a, let me go to S4 HANA system. Okay, and let me try to create a sales order. If you want to create a sales order, you can use a transaction called VA01. Okay. Okay, I will use VA01 and the order type, right? Whatever order type we are planning to use is ZOR. Okay, and I don't want to create everything from the scratch. Let's use some runtime data. This is one of my sales order which I used earlier. I will try to use this as a reference, so most of the data gets copied automatically, so I don't need to revisit all the sales flows for now. Okay, let's, what I did, I have just created a sales order. I entered my customer. Okay, this is GTS. Okay, one. Okay, this is the GTS testing. This is my customer and this is my product, and I entered, if I go here, I will be able to see my plant. Okay, 1710 is my plant, and what is my company code. I should be able to see everything, because why I'm looking all this, you should be able to see all this in GTS. Okay, 1710. So these are all my sales order. I'm just trying to save it. So as soon as I create a sales order, okay, did it transfer to GTS? So it, there's a two reasons. Okay, I didn't see any pop-up saying the GTS block. That means that there's no block to this particular sales transaction. Okay, or it doesn't even relevant for my flow. Okay, let me go back to GTS and look for this particular transaction. Okay, this is an app where I can able to see display document compliance management. Okay, let me quickly click the reference document. It did not even reach to GTS. The reason behind it could be multiple reasons. Either this is not relevant for our flow, or this is whatever reason. Okay, now let me create another example. Okay, 6039. Okay, so this is my customer, this is my product. Okay, if I go inside my plant, this is my product, and this is my company code. Let me try to save it. Sales order also got saved. So I just need to see whether my system is not coming through. Let me see what is happening. Maybe somebody have messed up some configurations, hence I am not able to see it in anything coming to GTS. There's a standard transaction called, if you want to analyze anything, there's a standard transaction called SLG1. Okay. The important transactions I will try to document here. So SLG1 is a very much important. We will use day in day out to in order to see logs, why the data is not transferred. All these things will be able to see quickly. Okay. So we try to see, and system is not even transferring. Okay. So there is no product master called daemon. What is the current time? GTS user. What is the current time? 11:22. So these are the logical system. There is no product master demo. Okay, this is what we try to use previous order. P5. Somebody else trying to play in the system. Okay, let me quickly check what is happening, why the data is not being transferred in S4. And if you remember, there is a transaction called area menu, if you remember. And here I did created a sales order, but I'm unable to see why this is not being transferred. So I can explicitly retransfer and see what is happening. Okay. So this is the same area menu transaction. Okay. You can also look at SAP SLL underscore menu underscore legal R3. Okay. That is a transaction S4 HANA system. And it opens like this, and you can go to initial transfer, select the, if it's a sales order, just select sales order and try to click sales order. So the data is not being selected because there could be few reasons. The company code whatever we are using under the sales order is not even being configured for my process. Okay, the company code or plant, the plant is used 1710. Let me go back. This is why I said we may need to use this configuration quite often to validate what kind of a data. Okay, go to SAP S4 component, GTS, control settings, transfer control document. Okay, I think I'm already in blocked. Sales order. It is activated at company code level, and ZOR is my document. And I have activated document type and control level, and I don't have that company code here. Do you remember why when I said if you want to transfer the data, you need to make sure that controls has been established. Okay, let me quickly, I think I'm already blocked in some other place. Here I have documented. Let me go in, copy this and activate for 1710 company code also. Okay, now let's go back to try to transfer it again. Now do you see that system is now recollect? Okay, 1710 is now relevant for GTS compliance check for this particular document. The embargo check performed, no issue. Screening performed, no issue. Legal control, there is no check. Okay, there is some execution is happened. You understood the difference, the configuration what we used to have like this, and once we started adding the company code, the difference, you see the difference. If you don't have this, system will not even consider your documents. But there is one tick mark which I want to show you here. For example, if we have activated this indicator, okay, This is one of the key important concept you need to understand. If we activate this indicator here, it create any new document type you create, by default it will block. You need to make either it is not relevant or relevant. You need to 100% you need to define here and say it is not relevant. But if you don't activate this tick mark, no other document, even you create 100 different document types, unless until you activate it here, system will not worry about it others. That's a difference. Okay, this indicator, whatever you see here, by default it will be blank, and we always recommend to keep it blank because unnecessarily it create a huge work for GTS as a consultant. But some companies, they don't want to process any single transaction or any new type of document without GTS involvement. In such, if they ask that way, you need to activate all these tick marks. That means that any new document type created in S4 system, they need to communicate to GTS, and either it is relevant for GTS. If it is relevant, you need to activate tick marks. If it's not relevant, you will simply add the document and you tick untick all the indicators. Is it clear so far? Now we have transferred this document. Let's see how it is appearing in GTS. Okay, now do you see? If you look at one point, this is what I was trying to say. So this is a sales order. It has lot many fields. It has a lot many tabs. A lot many information. Where in GTS side you don't have these many information. It has very limited information. Okay, very less. I mean, what hardly you see certain information about your product and quantity and value of the goods and when it is transferred. Okay, that's it. And you have partners, like who is the partner, what is the sold to party, or is the ship to party, or is the payer, and value of the goods and status of that, and that's it. You don't have anything. What does it mean? GTS will replicate. If you look at the document number, it's a different document number. Okay, where in S4 side this is a different document number. It is 6435, but it is 100283. Where do you have a link? Here you will be able to link. You see, this is a reference document number of 6435 sales order. Is coming from P23 CLNT 500 client, and this is the document number which is created in GTS for the year of 2025. For this, you need one configuration. I'm going to show only that, and I will pass it in S4 HANA side, GTS side configurations. If you look at here, and you need to have every time you will go here, general setting, there is a concept called number ranges. Okay, so here in the documents we will define what is the range should be used. This is the range we have currently being used. I'm going to explain what is zero, which number being used and all later point in time, but this is one of the configuration needed in order to create any document in GTS system. And if you look at which ID the system got created, RFC8ME. Even I have transferred. Okay, if you look at my ID is little different. If you look at an GTS side, S4 side, my user ID is GTS user 2. But what user document got created in GTS? RFC8ME. If you remember, this is what we are talked when we are talking about RFC connection initial point. When I created this RFC connection information initially, I did use this RFC user ID, and this is the time. And I can also see what is my product number. And I didn't talk about a few items which we just talked about, right? One is FTO. So if you go back to my sales my sales order in here, the company code for this is 1710. What is my company code? The company code is 1710. So what is FTO got created with FTO 1710? This is just because of the configuration we did with assignment of company code to configuration. Okay, let me go back and try to revisit that same transaction. (1710). This is the line. 1710 is mapped with FTO 1710. Is it clear, team? And who
Yes, Kumar.
created in S4 HANA side? You can also see that. Who changed that? GTS user 2. This is my ID. And what is the document category? This is the sales order. Because I said the same custom document can be used for purchase, delivery, everything. That's why SAP is now documenting what is this document, whether it is a purchase order, contract, transport order, or service request. What is the type of doc? These many types of documents are available, and this is a sales order. Okay, and what is the incoterm? You ignore for now. And the main important aspect is LU. Okay, let's go back. Why LU 1710 got picked up? Because assignment plan to LU. What is my plan? Let me go back to say order. In the sales order, you can see in the plant information in the item level. Double click, go to shipping tab. You should be able to see the plant information. 1710. 1710 is assigned to LU 1710. And this is my product master. This is my product. Okay, and units, how many units being used? 200 units being used. Okay, and value of the goods is 2000 USD, sorry, 20,000 USD. And what are the partners? I don't have any partners in item, but I have partners in header. Because I don't have partners in item, I have partners in header data of my sales order. I don't have, see, these are my partners. But do you see there is a partner number USCU underscore S01, but you see there is a partner number is created differently. Again, this we are going to talk about next week on the master data, because as I mentioned in the last session, every document will be created, replicated in GTS by using existing data. So whenever I create a master data, I will transfer this data and it gets created as a master data and it integrate with this. If I go back to as a BP as a transaction, I can see master data and business partner as an app. And if I enter 473, and this is the address of my performance bikes. Okay, and how the system will recollect with USSC 501 is linked with 478. Go to the identification as a tab, and you should be able to see external business partner name. Okay, this is my external business partner name linked with this business partner. That's how system will recollect that particular sales order. Is it clear so far? And once
Yes,
you get access, you should be able to see all this. Like once you create a sales document, and you should be, what is the sales order number? 6435 6435, and you should be able to see the SPL screening is completed, embargo screening is completed. There is no check for legal control. The same thing, if you remember, while you create a new sales order also, you can recollect one point, right? While I'm explaining the configuration, I said pop-up. Okay, it did not create a pop-up. Let me create a new sales order, because now we did configuration for 1710. Let me create a new sales order. Do I see a pop-up? I will not see. The reason is, if the pop-up will only come if any block information is exist. If I don't have any block information, system by default gets saved. I don't see any pop-up saying that. See, I don't see any pop-up information coming here. The reason means the GTS screening is happened. However, if you want to see this particular information, 6437, I no need to retransfer again, but everything is green. That's why you didn't see a pop-up. Okay, I will try to test something in the next session, like how the block information come, how you will able to screen them. Before that, I need to talk about SPL embargo legal control. Then we're gonna go back and try to see. For now, I would like to ask you to just select this, go to customs document. You should be able to see whatever we discussed so far in today's session, like org elements, company code, how the transfer information transferred, all those things. That's how I will communicate. See, I can show you one sales order and okay, this is how created, and this is SPL, this is embargo and all. But that does not give you any understanding of what I'm trying to talk about it. Okay, so whatever discussion we have did so far, only I will try to explain that. That's how you will be able to interlink what we have learned so far, how it will be interlinked, integrated with your JTS scripts. I'm done for the today. I'm now open for any questions if you have.
Okay. Kumar, so if we are having any creation in S4 HANA system, so it goes
Mhm.
for GTS scanning. What about
Mhm.
changes if we are making some changes in the existing document? Does it go for scanning by any chance or no?
Yes, yes, yes. It will go for screening every time. Okay. But there is again a checkpoint. For example, you created a sales order and you keep making a changes. Whenever you make any changes, it go and screen and come back. If anything block, it will block it. Okay. But if you perform the sales order to delivery, then the sales order will no more perform any kind of a screening because you will not be able to make any changes to the existing lines unless until you add a new line. Again the screening will happen. If not, the existing line, it will not be get screened. And once the delivery gets created, delivery is relevant. If you activate delivery relevant for screening, delivery gets screened like that.
Okay. And in S4 we have some standard table and all to save all the documents. So in GTS also do we have such tables, right? Because we are having
We,
different document creation, right? Totally different.
yes, yes.
Okay.
We
Okay.
will gonna talk about that. It's a valid
Okay.
question, but I don't want you to go that far. Stay for a while. I will definitely try
Sure,
to
Kumar.
talk about all. Yes, we have that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions by anyone? Anish.
No, Kumar. Actually, I missed the first half of the session. Actually, I'll like joined around like 7:30.
Mhm.
So there are few things, but I'll go through the recording. Then I'll come back next week
Yeah, sure,
because certain parts I missed in the beginning. So
sure. Thanks, Anish. Thanks, Angit. And thank you so much for joining the call. And let's connect on next Saturday. Talk to you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, Kumar. Thank you.